On this episode of the Star Wars Time Show, Matt and Nick wonder if there truly is always time for Star Wars time, because this past week was about as devoid of Star Wars news as it gets. But cast your worries aside, because these two bags of wind will have something to spew about. Such as a sneak peek at the tiny cabins fans can stay in at Disney's Halcyon Hotel. Or how about a recap of the latest Vader comic, because Matt has got one for you. They'll also drop some thought bombs on the news that Ubisoft is working on an open-world Star Wars game before closing with a discussion on a Kenobi set photo. Of course, the fan segment will round things out with fans describing their ideal Star Wars game from Ubisoft, before the boys honor this week's top 5 Star Wars fan artists in the feature segment. Punch it, Chewie. Now, everybody, we are here, and look who decided to join me after all. That's right, the co-pilot strapped himself in after all. Now you're probably wondering, what the hell is this guy talking about? Is he already out of his mind? Well, no. If you're a super fan and you're in the Discord, or if you follow our IG, you knew that there was a monkey wrench thrown into today's program. Thanks to my man down there getting hit by Rebel Cell, taking out his power generator. We didn't know if he would have some fuel to turn on the camera, get the mics going in time for the show. That's why we're a little late, about 30 minutes after our usual start time. And I honestly thought I'd be doing the first part of the show solo, but look, the power company came through. Nick, a.k.a. Chewbacca of the Star Wars Time Show, is here after all on the live stream, ready to talk about all the not juicy Star Wars topics that came out since the last time we chatted.
I don't know if you guys know who I am, but the Star Wars Time Show starts in 15 minutes. So get your shit together, get my power back on, because the people are waiting. And they came through. They came through in the nick of time. I messaged Matt and I was like, hey, power's back on, just waiting for the internet to kick back in. And it was right as he was about to hit the hyperspace button.
Yeah,
so
I mean, it was literally, he's about 2 minutes from when the go button was about to be pressed. But I'm glad he's here. The show's always better when it's the both of us, even if no one chooses to watch or listen, which is the case right now. I mean, I get we're 30 minutes late, but I mean, yeah. Crickets. It is crickets in the live stream chat. Not very surprising, because it is the Star Wars Time Show after all, right? There's Big Amish. We got you can always count on him being in there. I know things are getting a little late for Tones to be in the chat, but he might pop in for a little bit. We had a new one join the Discord, Nick.
Yeah, I know. The name is excellent.
Is it Chewbacca's left nut?
Yeah, that's it. That's him. He's a new Discord member.
I feel like
so welcome.
I feel like we may know Chewbacca's left nut, or it's another disturbed individual like ourselves.
I'm definitely disturbed. Yeah. He may be like an Instagram follower that just jumped on the train. He did say that it takes him at least a couple of days to finish each show because they're so long. Not surprising, because it also takes me a couple of days to get through our own show. So.
Yeah, I mean, it takes me no time at all, because I'm like, who wants to listen to that bullshit? I lived through it. I'm not listening to it again, outside of, brushing up on some shitty stuff I might have said, trying to improve my, my blah blahs and my blee blees. And just to make sure that I lined up our two tracks, because
I try to artificially inflate our numbers any way possible.
There you go, yeah.
I listen to it on Google Podcasts. I listen to it on Spotify.
I like that.
Listen to it on Apple.
I like that. See, that's what Nick is doing all week long after the Star Wars Time Show. He's just listening to the show on every platform that we are available on, which is damn near all of them. So get with it. StarWarsTime.net. I don't want to say it out loud, Nick, but we keep getting solicited to grab tab.com. Apparently it's become available again.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I guess maybe in my younger days, before I hit the 40 mark, I might have jumped on that and put on my tech hat again. But at this point, I'm like, who gives a fuck? I was like,
I would, if we were to get it, I wouldn't change anything. I would just have it IP forward or like
that's what I mean. Yeah,
forward.
like we would. You want the .com? It does sound better.
Yeah.
Like I heard someone
sounds more official.
Someone, I was listening to Howard today. I think a show from last week, but a caller called in. He's kind of friendly with Howard. They knew each other, so he let him drop a plug. He's like, I just launched this new site, douchebagbags.net. And I'm like, the .net just always, even the name douchebag bags, you're kind of like, all right, that kind of sounds like the Star Wars time show, but the .net just doesn't make it seem official.
Yeah, I know, right? It seems like, and the funny thing is .net is the most acceptable subdomain right next to .com.
Right.
Like
it is the JV of the .com sub.
Yeah, I mean it's not like we're Star Wars Time .show / ballsack.
Right.
Like we're a legit domain.
Hey, if anything, at least we don't end in .ru. Because if that was happening, then we are definitely some form of commie spies. But we're not.
Exactly.
We're .netters.
We got to get...
Could be .comers if I ever feel like it, but I have a feeling that's not going to happen.
Yeah. Finally, the person who had just the bear picture on StarWarsTime.com.
You went to StarWarsTime.com as a fucking, it's almost like a can of Grizzly, like the chewing tobacco bear, and that was it. But now that
you got to get your Bartow friend to like somehow stealth slip a Star Wars Time show mention into the Stern show somehow, just be like, yeah, man, I was listening to this stupid Star Wars podcast.
I wish. Like the thing with my buddies, he's very. I mean, if you listen to the show, you know there's behind the scenes players that die to get on air, right? Like that's their goal. They'll do stupid shit. They'll throw other people under the bus. My buddy has always been like, I don't want any part of that. I don't want to get mixed up in the Stern universe with all you nut job fans, dox me, this, that, and the other thing. So he stays relatively quiet when the show's on. I mean, you'll only ever hear him if Howard's like, hey, what's going on with the computers? And you might hear a guy, pipe in like, Howard just clicked the start button or something like that. That's about all Barto's going to give us. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, dude. I don't know. It'd be nice. I've been asking for 10 years. I mean, back in the EB days, I was like, yo, let's try to get something going on there, even if it's on the Geek Time show, something. But no, nothing.
Nothing.
None of my friends in the entertainment field stump for lowly Matt's little fan projects.
It's okay. We've built up a bit of a listenership on our own. I mean, so at least who fucking needs
we
them?
have tens of fans on the live stream and hundreds of fans on the other platforms. So we're getting there.
There we go.
We're getting there. I mean, December, Nick, was we did see some gains over the other months, and we actually missed the show, which was nice. So who knows what's going on? And we know the story here. If you're a longtime listener, my candy ass is never going to be happy until I'm happy. I don't know what that's going to be. I don't know if that's like me actually just being dead or what. But I won't know if I'm happy until I'm happy when it comes to the show, its listenership, its diehards, this, that, and the other thing. Right? Yeah. I'm a hard one to please. But I am happy to see that our boy Grey Goose Snaps is back.
There we go.
I was starting to worry about Greggy boy. I mean, he's definitely one of the original diehards out there. I know he's been dealing with some real life shit. He had a pet pass away. It's never a good time, especially if it's a long time pet. It was like a year or two ago. Yeah, 2019. I lost my cat at 18 years. I know what that's like. We actually, for New Year's Eve, because again, the only way I feel emotion is if it's depression and sadness. For New Year's Eve in the Haywood household, we watched Pete the Cat's kind of memorial video, because that's what normal people do on New Year's Eve. But I wanted to feel sad because, like I said, that's typically the only time I actually feel like a real human.
emotion, in any way. So that's a little sad. But you know what? We're here to try to bring some joy to you guys with some Star Wars stuff. I will say that there's not a ton to hit this week. Matt's got a comic book breakdown, and we actually have one big piece of news that I called out last week on the show. I said keep your eyes out for this, guys. It may be coming sooner than possible, or sooner than we possibly thought, and it did. So we'll get to that soon. But Matt, before we jump into topics, I want to ask you, did you listen to any more of the High Republic novel?
No. And I have a few things I want to talk about too before we get into it.
Okay.
No, dude. So well, here's the deal. I told you, as long as I've got Stern to listen to, that's it. Like it dominates the ears. He's back in session, and his lazy ass has actually done 2 full weeks of shows, or at least 6 total shows. So I'm still working through those. So I did not listen to it. But I will say, when I was out on my old man Sunday walk, I did think for a second, like, I probably should tune back into this, see where things are going. I do have a Star Wars podcast, and it would be nice if me as the main host was sort of on top of things, but that is like, now I'm going to listen to them talk about Flunky and all those other idiots on the Stern Show that I've come to love.
There you go. I'm about halfway through it now. So I'm on chapter 19, which is about 130 pages into the book. Right. And I mean, I will say that from where you are from chapter 1, it definitely gets better. And you end up hanging on to the entire saving or attempt to save the Hetzel system until where I've gotten. Right. So there's a lot of activity that's happening in there, and you meet a ton of Jedi and everything like that.
At that pace, I think Nick's saying we should have our full kind of recap review of Light of the Jedi by March.
Yeah. So maybe 2 weeks from now. Right. I will say that the book, what I really enjoy about it is they're short chapters, so I read through them quickly. For some reason, if a book I could have 2 books of equal length. They're both 350 pages. If one of them has short chapters and one of them has long chapters, I will finish the one with shorter chapters quicker.
That is an interesting construct you've built into your head, because it makes no difference. You still have the same amount of pages to flip. But to you and the little guy driving your ship, right? We all got one in there. So, girls, guys. He's just like, no, it doesn't work this way. Right.
I don't know why. I feel like every time I finish a chapter, it's like a little brain accomplishment. It's like, look at you. You did something. So it's like a little it's positive feedback every time I get to the end.
You have
of
like
one,
an achievement pop sound comes up like pling.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, look, 1 chapter. Congratulations, you finished 5 chapters. It's like, and if they're short, I feel like, oh, good. I just finished another one. That gives me power to go on and finish another one.
But like a page count does nothing for you. It's like, well, Nick, you got through 50 pages today. Your brain goes, I don't give a shit. How many chapters?
Yeah, no, exactly. Right. Like today during the power outage, I think I read 5 chapters, 6 chapters.
That's what I was saying. I was like, what the fuck does he do now for an hour, 2 hours? Because I know Nick's like me. I mean, he's very reliant on the finer things of life. This guy isn't going outside and killing stuff to eat. He may be a little more salt of the earth because he comes from Louisiana. But he's very much like me. He likes the finer things. He likes
driven human.
Yeah, he likes power. He likes the internet. He likes to be comforted.
Dude, it's funny too. So today we lost power. We lost power for about 2 hours, and then yesterday Taylor and I locked ourselves outside of our house, and we had to call a locksmith to come let us in because we haven't given a key to one of our neighbors yet, and we don't have one outside. So I wanted to punch myself in the face.
That is the worst. That is the worst. Like, because I know how I would react to that, Nick. I mean, first thing I would do, because I'm a fuckhead, is I would blame the other person, even if it was my fault. I would somehow be angry at the other person. All right, that's step 1. And then step 2 is I would just make the situation even worse by stewing on it, bitching about it, and just keep kind of looping as to why it's not my fault, it's the other person's fault.
Dude, so like this, I mean, today wasn't that bad. Like we were able to be in our house, which was a plus. But like Sunday, the Saints lost their playoff game, so I was already basically from, call it 7 p.m. Central Sunday for the rest of the night, I was already in a bad mood. Like I was already pissed. I was like, we fucking lost this game that we should have won. We were at home. There's no reason for us to lose this. So I was in a bad mood from that. Then Monday comes around, MLK Day, Taylor's off. We actually accomplished something. We bought a new bed frame for our guest bedroom. We put that together, rearranged the room. It functions a lot better now. But we were taking our old box spring downstairs in the garage, and that's when we got locked out. So it's so fucked, dude. So our doors, it's not like we can have the interior door locked and then it still turns on the inside. If the door is locked, you can't open it.
Yeah.
So we open our door to go and take it outside into the garage, and then we get it into the garage, the door closes and it's locked, and we're like, well, how the fuck did this thing lock? There's no way that's possible, because we wouldn't have been able to open the door in the first place. So we're like, all right, whatever. Let's go check the other doors. We go around, we check the side door, locked. We check the front door, locked. And then I remember too, and this is how much of an asshole I am, we were just watching the Night Stalker documentary on Netflix, the one about Richard Ramirez, the psycho who would go into people's houses in California in the 80s. We had just finished it. So we finished it on Saturday night, and that night I locked all of our windows because I was paranoid like a fucking moron.
Yeah, so you had no way to get in. Did you ever during your wait for the locksmith, did angry Nick ever get close to just saying, fuck it, I'm kicking a door down or smashing a window?
The emotion went through my head at some point, but I didn't actually do it. Gotcha. I was once I realized that we were legitimate, we didn't even have our phones with us. We had to ask our neighbor to use her phone so we could call the locksmith. So at that point, it was just literally like a stew of, I was just sitting down and I was silent and I was just brooding.
Yeah, that shit doesn't play well with me. But hey, he's back. He got in and the power's on. We got Greggy. He's back and he's already bitching. So he is back to his former self. All right, before we get into some of the Star Wars stuff, dude, some just general life things that I've encountered over the past week. They're kind of geeky pop culture, so Greg, keep your pants on, pal. The first thing I have to, this is just more of a statement, a PSA. I've been talking about it since I've started my rewatch of Star Wars Rebels, but we just powered through season 2 because the little girl, once we start watching, she doesn't want to stop. So sometimes we'll be there for a 4 or 5 episode clip. Basically 2 hours of Rebels. And we made it through the second season. And at the end of that second season, I just sat there again and was reflecting. I'm like, Jesus. I mean, I know when Rebels first came out, I was probably dual screen and stuff. I would have it up on the TV, but I was probably farting around on a phone or maybe even gaming, because there was a period in my life where I could not just focus on one form of entertainment. If I was gaming, the TV also had to be on. If I was watching TV, I had to be on my phone, right?
Definitely been there.
So what I'm saying is when I first went through Rebels, I may not have just completely zoned into it and paid attention to all the nuances, this, that, and all the other fun stuff. This time around, I am, because I'm sitting there with my kid. She's asking questions sometimes. And it's really just a nice moment for dad and his little daughter to sit there and enjoy some Star Wars. So anyways, get through season 2. And Nick, I have to say, I'm not sure why I forgot it, but we've all crowned The Mandalorian as the greatest recent creation of Star Wars, which I still stand by. I think live action is a lot harder to pull off, to do, to make it feel Star Wars authentic. So it's going to get the nod. But I have to say, season 2 of Rebels is a close second in terms of just purely excellent Star Wars narratives from start to finish.
that's the introduction. That's when you get Maul in it, right?
Dude, I'll just
with Malachor 5.
Exactly. I'll give you some of the highlights. I mean, it's a season that I believe has 2 or 3 multiple episode arcs, which are always excellent in Rebels, meaning, you get the to be continued. So the first 2 episodes are an arc, and that's where Vader is introduced as the big bad. That's the first time Kanan and Ezra come across him, and he more or less kicks their ass. It's also a moment where Ahsoka realizes that this Sith warrior for the Empire feels a lot like someone she's familiar with through the Force. So you got all that.
Yes.
Obviously, Ahsoka becomes a main part of the show. The next 2-episode arc are when the clones get reintroduced, in particular Rex, Gregor, and Wolf. Great 2-episode arc there. I mean, I forgot at one point, I think it's Gregor or Wolf. I know it's not Rex, but he rats out the fucking rebels to the Empire.
Yeah, I think it's Gregor
to save their own hides, because at that point, as old clones, they're not necessarily being hunted, but the Empire doesn't want them around. So his thinking was like, I'm going to do anything we can to stay in the good graces of the Empire. So you got all that stuff, and then as Nick said, you get much more into the Force between the 3 Force users with Ahsoka, Kanan, and Ezra. They go back to the Lothal Temple. You get some good kind of mysticism shit there. Yoda comes in and tells them, as Nick said, to go to Malachor. And that's, like I said, the final 2-episode arc, Twilight of the Apprentice, another two banger. That's where, as again Nick said, you learn that Maul is out looking for the Sith holocron, and that the Inquisitors are chasing him too.
Yeah, you get introduced to the second sister and
second sister and the brother. They've been the Inquisitors throughout the season. Then you learn there's another Inquisitor. So there's 3 Inquisitors at one point in time on Malachor, messing with Ahsoka, Ezra, and Kanan, and then ultimately Maul, because that's the same episode where Maul, through his tongue, through his actions, starts working over Ezra to the dark side, and it's working. Yep. You see Maul, he murders the second sister, he murders the other one. I mean, and then he blinds Kanan. And then obviously you have the fight between Ahsoka and Vader to close it out.
Yep.
But I guess the one thing, I know at the end of that season, people are like, oh, did Ahsoka live? And blah, blah, blah. It's like, they make it pretty fucking clear that Ahsoka and Vader walk away from that battle, by the way. I don't know if you remember that, Nick, but I do now. But I mean, you see Vader walk out into the plains of Malachor to leave, and you see Ahsoka walk into like a doorway and disappear.
Yeah.
But we all know what happens anyways. World Between Worlds gets activated, and he saves her, because to Ezra, they don't know. They see that temple more or less explode, so he's like, they're dead, or she's dead.
So it's interesting, because even if he wouldn't have gone back, Ahsoka would have still been around. Correct. So I wonder how that would have affected everything else. Like
that's what I mean.
Break
so
hadn't happened.
To me, it's almost like Filoni created a new timeline, if you will.
He kind of Abrams did. He JJ'd it just like he did with Star Trek.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's just great stuff. And then obviously at the end of that episode, he's still holding the Sith holocron, and he actually opens it, which means he is actively using the dark side of the Force. And then season 3 kicks in. He's got the haircut. He's got an edge to him, Ezra that is. And obviously Kanan is dealing with the loss of his sight and trying to be a better master and not lose the kid to the dark side. So Rebels, just, I know people shit on it early on and ultimately came around to it. It's obviously held in much higher regards now because of what's happened with Mandalorian. But my God, is that some damn good Star Wars. I would say animated, Nick, I like it better than Clone Wars because it is more directly attached to the era to
the OT.
Yeah, I mean,
era.
that's my favorite era. It always is going to be. I like what they did in the prequels now, at least through the Clone Wars, but I'm always going to be an OT guy, so I think that's why I like Rebels a bit more than even the Clone Wars at this point, which we all know ended on a fantastically high note.
Yeah, I mean, I think that with Rebels, almost like any TV series, and it's like, I feel like with any TV series now, it's basically make it through season 1, and then the show kind of hits its stride. And I feel like Rebels is not any different than that. Like if you make it through season 1, which is a little bit slow because it's a lot of character development, and it's not like you know any of these people. With Clone Wars, you're jumping right in. You know Anakin, you know Obi-Wan, and then you're introduced to all of these clones. So
yeah, I mean, season 1, you're right, Nick. If you think about that, it is almost an entirely new cast outside of some ancillaries that you would know. And it's not really. I mean, they give you a Lando episode or two. They give you a young Princess Leia episode or two. That stuff's fun. I mean, obviously, it was fun to watch Leia work with Ezra because, I mean, Ezra, I believe, is about 2 to 3 years older than the twins, but they're still in that same generation of kids that grew up right at the tail end, at the end of the Grand Republic, and have lived through the rise of the Empire. Anytime you get Leia in there, again, just it expands upon the Skywalker saga, the movies, just good stuff. So if you have never watched Rebels, shame on you. Or if you've been thinking about going back to it, I do think this is a great time, especially considering what we're going to get into with the Ahsoka series, potentially the Ranger series, and what we've already gotten into with the Mandalorian. So it's high quality viewing, holds up very well. Season 2 is just fan-freaking-tastic Star Wars.
Absolutely.
And the other thing, Nick, on the TV box, I got to ask, did you do your Wonder Woman homework yet?
Not yet. So
it's getting close.
The way we're going to watch it is their Taylor's company is doing like a socially distanced like marketing team thing. So they're going to do like a drive-in movie.
Got you.
And the drive-in movie that they're going to show, well, it's between two of them. It's either going to be Tenet or it's going to be Wonder Woman 1984.
So 2 movies that were somewhat disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have a lot of new stuff to choose from.
No, you're right. It is a sad state of affairs in the cinema space these days.
So and that is Thursday, so that's going to be a couple days from now. So if we don't catch it Thursday, then the plan is for our viewing to be this weekend.
Got you. And yes, friends, I know this is a Star Wars podcast, but if you've been around, I mean, it's fucking we shoot the shit. It is what it is. But
this is the intro.
Yeah, I have to ask Nick, did you take in WandaVision?
Yeah, I did. We watched both episodes of WandaVision.
Okay, where are you at on that thing?
I'm intrigued by it. Like, because here's the thing. People are watching it like, this is stupid. What doesn't make any sense. You know, if you're watching that show as a Marvel fan, you know that later in this season or later in this show, you're going to get why we are where we are. Like, you're going to figure out, you're going to get the reason why we're in this weird land. And the little teases that they threw in at the end of both of the episodes really kind of hooked me.
Yeah, so spoiler alert for WandaVision, first 2 episodes. All right, so I don't know how to take it. I do think it's very unique and different. It makes me feel like when I was a kid in the 80s watching Nick at Night on Nickelodeon, kind of checking out sitcoms from my parents' era. You know, Mr. Ed or I Dream of Jeannie, that type of shit.
Taylor had a very Bewitched vibe.
Well, dude, the second, I don't know if you noticed, but
second episode, the intro,
and they also shifted the era of sitcom. I don't know if people have picked up on that because even their house, their house is different in the second episode.
Yeah, the first episode, I was like, man, this really feels like I Love Lucy.
Yes, so the first one 50s, second one 60s. So now people are thinking that it is going to go throughout the decades.
Because at the end of the second one, spoiler alert, again, give you a couple seconds to plug your ears. But at the end of the second episode, color hits.
Yes, right.
So
it could very well be we are going to be in the Technicolor era of sitcoms for episode 3. But here's the deal, Nick, and I'm with you. It is... They sold out to commit to the old school era of sitcoms. I mean, the scripts, the acting, the hijinks go on the show. I mean, it is, like I said, you almost have to go back if you've never seen an old sitcom. You almost have to go back and watch one to see how hardcore they went in that direction.
Yeah, no, they really did. And
but I will say
that impressed me. I liked it.
Yes, I do appreciate the presentation. I will say, I think they need to start peeling a little bit more of the mystery back after 2 episodes, because it really is like, okay, what? Yes, we know everything is not on the up and up. It is marbles. It is Marvel. But I do think they need to start revealing a little bit more, peel a few more layers off there of this mystery onion, to kind of let us know what's going on. Is Wanda captured? Who keeps coming through the radio saying, Wanda, what are they doing to you? What is happening? Is she cooking all this up? Is she in the hands of someone else? I've heard it could be, Mephisto is involved because of there have been allusions about a devil in the first 2 episodes. Yeah. I like Tone saying here, thought I was off my tits watching the first episode. I'd imagine if you had no idea what the show was like and you were expecting it to be MCU, you probably turned that thing on and was like, da, 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 it was doing the MCU banner, and then it just goes to straight black and white 4x3 letterbox. You're probably like, holy shit, did I take too much LSD today?
Yeah. And well, what I think is interesting is that, I don't know if it's people at Marvel have come out and said this, but essentially, as we all know, because of COVID, this wasn't the first planned piece of MCU Phase 4 that was supposed to happen. Right. So, like, there very well could be in the movies that, that are going to be released, or even in the TV shows that were supposed to come out before WandaVision, maybe there was something that leads you into this that's like, oh no, Wanda's captured. Right.
Well, we know for a fact we should have at least had a Black Widow last year, because at this point, Far From Home is the only Phase 4 MCU movie to launch. I've also read now, Nick, that at one point in time there was supposed to be a stinger to Endgame that would have provided some context for what we're seeing in WandaVision. So, I don't know.
So it does feel like you're kind of in a black box right now. Right. Like you have no idea, because the last piece of Marvel content that we all saw was Endgame, like you said, like that was it.
Yeah, where they're all together, where she was involved. Yeah, I don't know. It's very. I've watched each episode 3 times, not because I love it. Let's just say I tuned into the first time maybe a little too late in the night, so I was getting the old doze offs. But I have seen it now. I'm down with it, but I do think by this 3rd episode they need to maybe open a box or open a door or 2 and let us know that it is more than just Wanda reliving different eras of sitcoms in her head with her deceased robot lover.
Yeah, I agree. Right. I hope that we get a little bit more, but I mean, I think it's, for those of you who are impatient with it already, just give it a few more episodes. I mean, they're short. They're only like 25 minutes each. So it's not like you're dedicating a full hour of TV time to it.
If you hate it, like I said,
it's gonna get there.
Go back and watch an old sitcom, just if anything, to see how diehard they are to that formula. It is something, man. It is a form of art. So I dig it. I wasn't as like, this is awesome as I was hoping to feel, but I think that's by design. I think they're fine with this kind of being a slow boil. They like people going, what the fuck is this? I think they probably even like people being slightly pissed off at this point, because we all know at some point they're going to flip that switch. We're all going to be like, yeah, MCU, Kevin Feige, blah, 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 all that type of stuff. They did it again. So. All right, man, let's get into the Star Wars stuff. As you kind of summarize going into today's show, there's nothing too exciting. I did pick up a late one that we missed here. If you're on the live stream, you've seen it up on the screen now, as we've been rambling for 30 plus minutes about nonsense. But I believe we have the Funko Fair is going on right now. We're getting reveals for Funko's Funko Fair. And over on the StarWars.com official site, they're helping to promote some of the exclusives that are coming to this fair. And we're checking them out now. I mean, obviously, I used to be a huge Funko guy. That has fallen off drastically these days. I've fire sailed my Funko Pops to the point where I've remodeled a basement, thrown down some hardwood floors in the family room, built a Rogue Fitness gym in the garage. So the Funkos have served me well, Nick. I just don't care to collect them anymore.
Yeah.
But here we go. So, I mean, some of these fair reveals, I mean, obviously the keychains, everyone's going to love them. A little Mando keychain, a little Grogu, a little Gideon with the Darksaber. But the big one here, at least for the diehard Funko Pop collectors, is a new Amazon exclusive Star Wars Amazon series. In fact, Luke Skywalker with pin set. Now, Luke is styled after his garb from Empire Strikes Back, in particular when he's out there on his Tauntaun, checking out some meteorites. I believe that you can get that now from Amazon, but that's one of the reasons I wanted to throw it up there. While I am not a Funko collector, I still want to let other Funko fans know when a Star Wars Funko is dropped, just in case they want to add it to their collection. They got some new mystery minis coming out, and I think these are pins. So for you pin collectors, it looks like we're going to start getting more Star Wars Pop pins. I know collecting pins is a huge thing in the geek space,
especially during Celebration. I mean, if you go to Celebration, the pin collecting and trading, these things, like
if you're on the live stream, I'm holding it up right now. This is a Star Wars Tot Mini or Star Tot. People were like killing other people to get these because you could only get them if you made it into a certain panel. And, you know, obviously there's going to be a lot of nut job collectors at a Star Wars Celebration. Let's be real. I mean, outside of Nick, most Star Wars fans are also hardcore Looney Tune collectors. I've somehow found two hardcore Star Wars fans that aren't loons with collecting in Nick and the intern.
We both collect tattoos.
Well, I fucked up the intern with Funkos though. Like he's got hundreds of Star Wars Funkos. So I guess I did get him a little bit. But you've been stalwart against losing lots and lots of your hard-earned cash to the Lucasfilm licensing giant.
I will say that if you purely look at like how much I've spent on the tattoos, the Star Wars tattoos I have, because I have 3, it's probably near $1,000 in investment in ink.
Hey Nick,
so
I mean, some of us assholes do that on a Tuesday after a Mando Monday. Yeah. So you still got some catching up to do, pal.
So back there, you see a couple lightsabers. So you know that the Savvy's Workshop one that was what, $250. You got the Kylo one right there. That one's like another $200. And then this Skywalker family blade you see right there, that's actually from the the Jedi Challenges video game. So that's just a piece of plastic that's kind of crappy. But that custom made one right there, that one is also probably $200. Yeah. So the shit that I buy when I do buy Star Wars collectibles are expensive.
Up there. Yeah, he don't fuck around with the pieces of plastic. Like this guy, don't bother him with the $7.99 TVC line or the $19.99 Black Series. That's bullshit. Even the Barbies in the 200s are bullshit to Nick. I mean, he goes big or he goes home. I'll tell you what, man, on the lightsaber front, it took a lot of willpower not to pre-order the Darksaber. I'm still on the fence with it because I think it's a sexy ass looking hilt. I think it'd look great with all the other shit I have on my desk to the point where I don't even have a desk anymore. But so far I've held off on that Darksaber.
Yeah, man. Now that I'm making a little bit more money, I may pick up a couple of those sabers that I missed out on. Like I'm tempted to reorder that Revan saber that was denied from me because I mean that is every lightsaber is very unique, but the Revan one particularly so.
Well, you're a big. Let's face it. You've lived in the Old Republic era now for the past few months. I mean. Yeah, Nick went out and he was one of the lucky people to get himself one of the new consoles, but he's like, fuck that shit. I'm going to play a 5-year-old Star Wars game.
5? That game came out in 2011. Yeah. So that's a 9-year-old game, 10-year-old game now. And I mean, there's still content released for it. In fact, one of the brand new pieces of cosmetic gear that you can get in the game is the full Jedi Knight Revan outfit with the lightsaber. And the lightsabers in that game are the prized possessions. Like I have the best lightsaber you can get at the time. on my characters right now, but like the new Jedi Knight Revan saber, like people are very excited about that. So it is very tempting to go back now that I have a little bit of extra money and say like, hey, let me get that Revan saber, or let me get that Sidious, let me get that Palpatine saber that came out. But yeah, I mean, I was never attracted to like toy collect. Like you can see a couple Funkos in the back. I got Phasma and I got Kylo. But that was never the thing that really appealed to me. It was always like, I want a lightsaber like Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, it's a hard thing to explain. I think a lot of us collectors would probably trace it back to an elder afflicting the disease upon us.
Yeah,
I mean, I know my dad did. It was normal. It's normal life to me to like have a basement full of unopened Star Wars toys.
Yeah,
I'm glad I broke free of you got to keep it in the box shit, because that'd be a nightmare. I don't know how people to this day spend the money we spend on these things and keep them in their boxes, because it's like I have PTSD from being a little kid and walking down in my dad's basement and seeing all these toys that clearly I couldn't buy myself, and clearly that he was not going to give to me to play with, seeing them in their packages, feeling like I had a KB toy store in my own house, but I couldn't open the damn toys.
So now this is your get back. You're like, now I have all my own toys and I'm going to open them.
Dude, it is. And it's almost, I've gone back, and some of the stuff that he's given to me to hold from his collection or some of my old collection, I've now gone, you know what? Fuck this. Hey, guess what, Dad? You didn't want me to open these micro machines when I was 10. I'm going to do it. And I gave my daughter, when she was probably 2.5, 3, all the classic Micro Machine Star Wars sets, which are awesome. I mean, they are awesome. There's like a little Endor, a little Hoth. There's some that looks like Vader's helmet that you open up and it's Bespin, the carbon freezing chamber. Then you got all the little miniature figures and ships. And I was like, fuck it. I've always wanted to see what these look like out of the box. It's like, I remember being a kid looking at the box and dreaming of what it would feel like to take them out and play with it. So all these decades later, I was like, you know what? She doesn't even know what the fuck's going on at 2.5, 3. But for me and little Matt, I'm going to exercise those demons, give her these boxes to open, and then throw them into a bin so they get all scratched up and lost. Yeah. And that's where they are now. It's fucking mixed up, destroyed, discarded. Although she did break them out over the weekend. Whenever she does that, it makes me, my Star Wars heart smile. So it kind of worked out in the end.
And during this conversation, I ordered 2 Baby Yoda keychains.
There we go.
They got it. We got
him. Hey, Star Wars Time Show, Hasbro, whoever sold those, kick us a little affiliate commission there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, because I know I need to give some keys out to our neighbors in case we fucking lock ourselves outside.
Yeah,
again.
They'll be like, oh, so there we go.
I can make it very clear. This is my key. It's the one with Grogu on it.
Right. And they're like, who's Grogu? And they're like, and then Nick just spits in their face and punches them in their stomach.
Give me my fucking key back.
What do you mean, who's Grogu? You communist. All right, dude, speaking of Grogu, his creators, his masters, or his owners, if you will, gave us a sneak peek inside the Halcyon Hotel. Now, this is for those that aren't familiar, this is going to be the Starship-esque hotel experience at the Disney parks. I don't know if it's both parks, Nick, or...
I think it's just
It says World, so that's Florida, right?
Yeah.
But we actually got a look. We've seen concept art of what this is going to be about. I mean, before the world ended last March, me in particular, I was all over this concept. I was like, I don't care how much this shit is. I'll fork over my $6,000 to spend 48 hours in this Halcyon Hotel, which again it's essentially a Star Wars cruise ship simulation. Does that sound right, Nick?
Yeah, basically, it is a fully immersive galactic cruiser experience.
Right. I mean, from the moment you get dropped off, you're essentially put into a transport that takes you to the main ship. Yeah, get you in your cabins. There's going to be shared rooms, and again, it's not going to look like a hotel. When you look out the window, you're going to see LEDs of space and ships and other shit going on. So it's very
Like,
very
you
Disney. I mean, right? I mean, this is
you are
Disney.
completely immersed from the moment that you step in.
I mean, this is straight Disney at its finest. This is what they do. It's what they do well. It's what they have done well. So for the first time, we actually got, and Nick didn't check the right thing in the post.
Click the refresh because I just did it.
This is our site, so you never know if it'll actually reload in Safari. There we go. Good job, StarWarsTime.net. We love you.
All right, now you should have the full open experience.
So anyways, it was like last week or something, we actually got some shots of the crew. I wouldn't say the people actually building it. This looks like the probably
potentially like the inspectors.
It's the bosses is what I was getting at. It's not the people actually screwing shit in. It's the bosses. But we got to look at one of the rooms, and holy shit, they are tiny. I mean, they're not screwing around. You really are staying on a starship in your own tiny little cabin. So the first image we're looking at, that's going to be your viewport window. Now, obviously, it's going to be you're going to be seeing scenery of space. I would assume it's going to be very similar to what you see on the Ride of Resistance.
A couple images down that'll show you it lit up with a full kind of view of the room.
The next one, though, in order, those are your bunk beds. Hopefully you have a family that is 3 or less, maybe 4 or less. You could probably do parents and 2 kids. But outside of that, shit's going to get tight because, man, look at those bunk beds. Those bunk beds are meant for smaller people, so kids would be great. Short people like myself might be able to use them. But if you're a normal adult, good luck getting into the bunk beds.
Yeah.
There's a full shot of the room, like Nick said. Now you can see, your TV is essentially going to be a holo display.
Like a navigational chart almost looks like is what's on it.
But you can see
now.
the window, which we saw in the first shot if you're on the live stream. If you're not on the live stream, please check it out on StarWarsTime.net. But you can kind of see, you get an image of space. It looks like you're looking at a galaxy outside your window. Next shot is just the exterior. Now, they're not making the exterior look like a full-on ship. So it's just kind of boring gray building shit, but they're working. I mean, they're still building this, COVID or not, shutdown parks or not.
I will say that for the rooms, almost like any hotel, like you're probably going to have tiers of rooms. So I would imagine that this is a pretty basic cabin. And then if you choose to pay for, like if you have a family of 6 and you want to stay at the Halcyon, they're not going to be like, well, good luck fitting in there. There's going to be
you would
rooms.
think that they're going to have, Grand Moff Tarkin style rooms, something like that.
Suites and stuff like that. I would liken it to like cruise ships. This is almost, if you've ever been on a cruise ship, they have your interior cabin rooms that almost look just like this, where you have, a bed, a set of bunk beds, and then you have your porthole where you can look out of the, your porthole window where you can look out and you can see the sea.
Well, I want to know, like Tone says, where's the vac tube in this little room?
Yeah, I don't know.
Where are these people dropping a deuce or draining the main vein? I mean, I don't see any
sort of bathroom in here. Yeah, I don't know if it's like if there is something that's like out of view.
Right.
Like if you if there's a door,
it's right
that's
there, Nick.
It's
under their holo display. You pull it out and you have to shit and piss in front of your whole family.
Yeah, if you need to pee, everybody else get out of the room. But I would imagine that this is just the sleeping quarters, and then for example, at other Disney resorts, it is kind of broken out like an apartment where you have your living quarters and then you're sleeping like a bedroom. So this may just be the sleeping quarters of the room, and then there's a door that leads out.
It best not be a shared bathroom for the prices you're going to be paying to stay here. That's all I can say.
Yeah, it will be interesting, but it does look like it's a bit of a cramped space for, what you're potentially going to be paying for this. I mean, when we talked about it when it was first announced, it was exorbitant prices. It was like $1,200.
Yeah, I'm not kidding. I believe for a 2-night package, it's $6,000. Like 3-day, 2-night, 6 Gs.
Yeah, it's very.
I don't know if that
expensive.
includes you get park passes or what's that, the Hopper Pass, Nick, where you can hit any of the parks on campus.
Yeah.
But either way, it's costly, and I believe it was supposed to be opening this season, correct?
I think so, but clearly,
obviously that's going to be delayed. I mean, anything has been fucked by COVID, but I would assume COVID may be good for this in terms of tempering the initial excitement. So maybe if you're risky or a go-getter, you could actually get into the Halcyon a lot faster than pre-COVID is my thinking at this point.
Yeah. I mean, my brother has gone to Disney since COVID and since they've reopened. And I mean, by his estimation, everything has ran really smoothly. Everything was very safe in the ways that you can do it. Because if you think, you're at Disney, you're outside most of the time. The only time you're really spending inside is if you're in a ride. And what he was saying was, it was cheaper and there just weren't many people there by default.
Right.
So like he, when him and his girlfriend would go on a ride, it was usually just him and maybe a couple other people, and they were far enough away from each other to where you really didn't have to worry about close interactions. And, the lines were all very spaced out. And I would imagine that when this does open, that if it does open in, still in COVID era, then you'll have an opportunity to get there and experience it in a much different way.
I know people like someone like me. I'm okay now waiting multiple years at this point. Like I don't want to rejoin society until shit levels out big time. Not like, oh, I got the vaccine, I'm good. Who the fuck knows how even long you're protected, if you can still spread this, that, and the other fun shit. So I'm fine staying in the bunker for now. It's almost been a year. It really isn't that much different than my usual life. So here we go. Right?
Yeah.
I'm down with this shit. The only thing I miss truly, outside of seeing my mom and my nephews, is going to the movie theaters or going out to eat. That's what I miss.
Out to eat, yeah, because I mean, like your Friday routine was, even when we were still recording on Fridays, like you and the wife
every Friday,
dubs.
Yes, Heather and I would make a point to get out and at least feel like, two people that met, fell in love, and then had a family and blew it all up. So
yeah.
Hey there, Soldon489 from a friend's TikTok. That's what we like to see. Welcome to the live stream. You never know if you'll get a shout out. Oh yeah, dude. So I mean, this is something I still would like to do. I would say it's bucket list down there, but I need to figure out if humanity, in particular in America, is going to end itself first. So
yeah, I know we're one day away from inauguration.
I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting to see if we completely descend into the civil war that a lot of people think is happening.
Yeah,
but I'll be there if we're still up and running.
Yeah.
All right, my man, it's time to talk about my dude, the Vader.
Oh, yes, Mr. Vader.
We did have a new Vader comic dropped last week. It's number 9 in the Darth Vader run that I believe started right at the end of 2019, if not the beginning of 2020. It's the run where we're essentially following Dater. Wow, I'm way off today. Dater, man. We're following Vader in between his exploits in Empire Strikes Back and his ultimate return to the light and Return of the Jedi. So that's kind of the time frame that this most current Vader run is in. So number 9 dropped last week, like I said. With these ones, I typically just like to introduce any new canon added to it, as well as any Easter eggs. But for the High Republic, I'm doing more of a review. So get with it. Follow us on YouTube. Sub it up, like, comment, share. It's easy. Doesn't cost you a thing, except maybe your reputation if you're sharing our shitty content with your cooler friends. But anyways, in Vader number 9, really the biggest new canon that we get, and again, this is kind of tying. This is twice now that this Vader run, has tied itself to The Rise of Skywalker, the sequel trilogy, by default. And that's because in this one, Vader actually makes it to Exegol space, like the red cloud that kind of hides the planet, if you will, Nick. So dude, just like Kylo, had the possession of the Wayfinder, got it from the Webbish Bog in the last episode. But now, with the help of Ochi of Bestoon, who has more or less become Vader's personal bitch,
nice.
These two end up in Exegol space, and that's kind of where things end, right as a huge-looking space monster, not too unlike the one we saw in Solo, descends upon Vader's commandeered Jedi starfighter. So,
nice.
As a whole, the issue again felt a little off for the Vader run. We did get to see him kick some ass. He took out this new faction that I did not know of, but it seems like anyone from Bestoon has to add Bestoon to their name. Because Vader takes on, and you'll like this, Nick, the Droid Crush Pirates of Bestoon. Droid Crush Pirates of Bestoon.
Okay, all right.
It is literally a gang of robots that Ochi kind of hired to come and help him fight Vader, because he's still trying to take him out on Mustafar, if you've been following along. And obviously, they fail miserably, so we do get to see Vader kind of do some Vader stuff. Because once he gets his saber back from Ochi, he makes very short work of the Droid Crush Pirates, or the DCP-OB, as we like to call them here at the Star Wars Time Show.
I mean, I like the avenue that they're going. You know, we always knew, as with the prequel trilogy, that if you add more lore around it, you can enhance the story that was told in the movies. I like that they're doing that. It, like, this in particular does make me wish that we had the expanded 9th movie, like the original. Like, even if we didn't get the Colin Trevorrow version, which would have been completely different, you know, if we would have gotten the original vision of J.J. Abrams' 9th movie, which was roughly 3 hours and 45 minutes long, we would have seen the mirror scene to what happened in these comics, where Kylo, just like his grandfather, goes to see the Webbish Bog to find this Wayfinder to go to
all that
Exegol.
fun stuff.
Yeah, like, we would have had very incredible parallels to make between these two characters, who are inexorably linked to each other through both blood. Well,
I mean,
and
Nick, what you're saying is exactly what they are doing, or at least my mind, what they're doing. I mean, Kylo, we now know, directly mirrored what Vader is doing in these issues. Because what Vader is doing, my friends, this isn't like he's not being sent there by the Emperor. He found out through Ochi letting something slip that the Emperor is working on something. And that's what got Vader thinking, like, what the fuck is this guy up to now? And, you know, through a series of events and an interaction with the Webbish Bog, he comes in possession of the Wayfinder. Ochi lets him know about Exegol. That's who gives him the coordinates, so they end up there. So just like Kylo, when he found out that the Emperor was back and he was hunting him down, trying to find coordinates to Exegol, Vader is doing the exact same thing. He's not going there for himself. He's going there to figure out what the fuck the Emperor's up to behind his back. And as we learned, the Emperor, way back during the original trilogy, had been building up this force, the lab, his backup plans on Exegol.
His contingency
exactly.
plan,
So, I mean, Exegol has always been a part of his ultimate plans. And we're now seeing that it was even being worked on, massaged, if you will, way back when during the original trilogy. Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, I know that Matt and I have kind of lampooned the upcoming, you know, what is it called? Fucking Justice League 4-hour cut that Zack Snyder is going to be putting out. But I wish, and this is never going to happen, but I really do wish that we would get a 4-hour cut of Tross.
I'm with you, man.
And
I know how you feel, but I'm sure it's the same way DC people felt with the Snyder movement. And look where we got. So I still don't think Disney would ever renege on their stances because they're Disney, but yeah, you never know. I'd give it a 1% chance at this point. Yeah, but it's a zero, like Nick said. You're never going to get. They've never done it, in fact, right? I mean, the best we've gotten with a Star Wars movie are some deleted scenes.
I mean, it's the only thing that you've ever gotten officially is George's remasters,
the special editions.
That wasn't Disney owned,
right? And that it wasn't even like George was. it wasn't like he was adding stuff that he necessarily cut. I mean, yeah, the Solo talking to Jabba in A New Hope, that was a film scene when Jabba, he looked like some dude from medieval times. He was just a guy. But really, a lot of it was George just like, hey, computers can do this now. I couldn't do it back then. I just want to brush up some of my work. It wasn't, I had to cut out 30 minutes of the movie because of a budget or time constraints. It was, I just wanted to make Mos Eisley look more alive, or I wanted to make Greedo say McClunky for some fucking reason, shit like that.
And I mean, if you look at Disney's history, even outside of Star Wars, like, they don't do director's cuts.
Yeah, there's no MCU director's cuts. You get what you get.
Yeah, I mean, not even for like their own flagships, like Pirates of the Caribbean. There's no director's cuts for that. There's no director's cuts for, any of their Disney Channel or like their Disney original films or anything like that. What you get is what you get. So it is highly unlikely that we'll ever get an extended version of TROS, even though, it was highly called for, especially even ahead of the release of the movie. When people knew that there was a 3-hour long cut, they were like, well, why are we only getting 2 hours and 25
I mean, dude, on this
minutes?
dumb show, the lead up to TROS, all we ever kept saying was like, this has to be the longest movie. It has to be the longest movie. It has to, especially when they're doubling down on, it's the end of an era. The Skywalker saga comes to, it's like, okay, great. If you guys want to, take that route, fine, but make sure you fully flesh this send off out, and it didn't quite happen.
And I mean,
parts
like,
of it were fleshed out in fucking Fortnite, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, like, I still believe with like his proper take, he could have done a lot better. I mean, I don't know if it would have been the perfect Star Wars movie. It probably wouldn't have been, but like, you could have done a lot better than what we got in the theatrical release. And it just goes to show you, like I said, just here, you would have had the whole scene play out with Kylo in the Eye of the Webbish Bog and everything that Vader just did in this comic to draw those parallels.
Right, that's what I'm getting at. And that's why I do like going through these comics and doing the new canon breakdowns on the Star Wars Time Show YouTube account. So make sure you're subscribed over there if you like this type of stuff. It does. It as we have learned through the maker himself, I mean, through his use of trilogies and kind of telling it like a book, he has directly said that he will always mirror what happened in one era in the next. And that's what we're seeing here. I mean, here you have Vader looking for answers about his master, who he knows is trying to fuck him over and kill him and do all this other stuff. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, will Vader make it to Exegol and see the lab and potentially see some of the clone vessels that the Emperor has ready just in case he does get taken out? But to leave it is funny how he treats Ochi at the end. After he gets what he needs, he throws Ochi into an escape pod, just like one you would have seen from the Clone War era, because they're on Mustafar, but they're at that Techno Union bunker, which still has a lot of old Clone War era military vehicles. Like I said, Vader himself commandeers an old Jedi starfighter, but there's an escape pod there. So after he gets the coordinates from Ochi, he throws Ochi into the escape pod, clamps onto it with his Jedi starfighter, and takes off with Ochi hanging from the belly of his starfighter. Then he proceeds to hit a starfighter hyperdrive ring with Ochi going like, dude, these things aren't rated for hyperspace travel. So what do you think Vader said?
Just rip apart.
Tough shit. Pew! He hits hyperspace. Ochi's bouncing up and down in the belly of this escape pod. It was vintage Vader, just using and abusing those around him to get what he needs. I mean, let's be fair to Anakin. I mean, Ochi was trying to kill him. But it is just funny to see how he treats these motherfuckers with just no regard for anyone but himself. But like I said, it was a nice little cliffhanger. Are they going to get taken out by this big-ass space monster? I'm assuming Vader will have some piloting skills to show him. If not, just jump out and be the badass that we know him in Zero-G and slice him and dice him. But in issue 10, we should find out if the Dark Lord of Sith actually makes it to Exegol.
We will see. I mean, it's very cool that they're taking it in that direction. I know that some people who are haters of the sequel trilogy are probably like, "Oh, this is fucking stupid," but that's how you build worlds, and that's how you build universes, is expanding.
Right, and you got to think like what these Star Wars writers have been left with are what the movies gave them. I know a lot of you pretend you live in these alternate realities like WandaVision, where you can just pretend Disney's going to, blow out the sequel trilogy and it never existed. That's not going to happen. Writers are now beholden to those events, and that's what we're starting to see in some of these comic book runs. Yeah, we got Chewbacca's left nut has joined in.
There we go. Welcome. He was our new Discord member that we had mentioned before, and he's now on the live stream.
Matt's mustache makes him look like a pedophile hot dog man.
Man, the mustache comments that we've gotten over the last 2 weeks are really top notch.
I have an idea. I might know who Chewbacca's left nut is, and if it is this guy gets so much joy out of my mustache that he has asked for selfies just to laugh at it and come up with fun phrases to describe me as.
So is it a personal friend, or is it a Star Wars time friend?
Well, if it's the guy I'm thinking about, it's a personal friend, but
okay.
Chewbacca's left nut. I know he just joined the Discord, or she. You never know.
Yeah,
but I'm assuming it's a male just based on the handle name and the way they comment. But hey, may we'll never know. We'll keep it a mystery, I guess. But they're all coming in. Like Donald Collins is in here. GT Rain. That was one of the excellent shots we talked about last week. Figure Hertz is in here. He's ready for his top 5. Honor. Easy. We're not there yet, though, my friends. We still got some Star Wars.
We're getting close, though. We're getting close because, like I mentioned at the top of the show, not a ton of new news for Star Wars. But as the Force had guided me to last week, I did say that the potential for the Star Wars exclusivity with EA to end, there was a possibility that it could end earlier than we expected, and by God, it did.
Okay, hold on, Nick. We got an update on Chewbacca's left nut. It is larger than his right nut.
There we go.
No, but Chewbacca's left nut is he's one of the Australians, so yeah, I would not know this one personally.
Another fake nation.
Yeah, not sure if Hideous looped them in, or if we've just now been promoted in Australia as the dumbest Star Wars podcast for people to follow. So here we go.
The official Star Wars podcast of Australia. So I like it. I
want to pump up Nick a bit, because I mean he'll never do it. I know he was trying to, but this is one of those deals where he and I just need to get over not being piece of shit Star Wars podcasters like most of the other Star Wars podcasters, and just start claiming that we know stuff and that it's not speculation, that we know it for a fact, a source has told us. Because as Nick said, for those of you that were listening, just last week on the show, when we were talking about, hey, Lucasfilm Games, they put out a nice sizzle reel. They're kind of pounding their chest like, we're back. We're going to start making some games. And we're like, oh, yeah, that's great. They're still EA. I wonder when that deal will end. And Nick literally said, I bet the EA exclusivity is going to be up soon, very soon. Well, it just so happens a day after he made that claim, we got the official announcement from the brass at EA, brass at Lucasfilm, confirming that, yes, EA no longer is the exclusive publisher / developer for the Star Wars license. In fact, here was the cherry on top. Here is what we've been asking for, clamoring for on this little show, and that was the reveal that Ubisoft, the creators of the AC franchise and others, has been tapped to develop a new open world Star Wars game.
Open world, story driven, which is literally exactly what fans of the franchise have been asking for since the license was given to EA. We're like, hey, you guys have great open world studios, or had great open world studios. Why don't you make one of these games? You have BioWare. Why don't you let them make one? And it just never happened.
Right.
And it wasn't until Star Wars official came in and said, hey, EA, here's the plug. Gone. We are no longer tied to you for
it even
video
got
game
EA
rights.
to say, hey, don't leave us over here. We're not the redheaded, stepchild. We're still actively working on Star Wars games, which Nick, I don't know if you saw a lot of the rumors or leaks coming out, and we didn't really have time to put it up there, but our sources have told us, do you see that, Nick?
There we go.
Our sources have told us that we will be getting the Star Wars Battlefront 3 announcement very soon. Okay. Did I do it right? Is that how you do it?
I will say that it's a little surprising that we're going to be getting Battlefront 3 announcements so soon after the announcement of ended support for Battlefront 2, because that just happened probably 4 months ago, maybe. So it's interesting that they're literally rolling off of active support for Battlefront 2 right into, hey, here's the announcement for Battlefront 3. Battlefront 2 was a very well-supported game in terms of free content expansions and everything around it, especially after the complete debacle in the beginning, right when the game was released for the loot boxes. They did a really good job of pivoting and saying, like, hey, we fucked up. We're giving you guys everything free now. And they supported that game for a long time till the near end of 2020. So I think that was 2 years post-release. Interesting that we're already getting a Battlefront 3 announcement.
Remember, you heard it here first on the Star Wars Time Show. No speculation.
Yes, sources have said.
No bullshit. We just said it. As Liam's saying in the chat, clickbait, clickbait, clickbait. No more humble titles. You're right.
Yes.
Fuck it.
That's what you got to do to make headway in this industry, apparently. We also know that we're going to be getting the Fallen Order, Jedi Fallen Order 2 official announcement pretty soon as well. I mean, that's likely going to be by
that one's according to Nick's source. We know that's coming.
Yeah. So that's going to be, mid-end of 2021. We're going to get the announcement about Jedi Fallen Order 2. We already know that that's going to be coming down the pipe. And then they also mentioned that there are other Star Wars franchises that they're working on. But the big thing here is that it's no longer exclusive. So Ubisoft has massive games, which is one of their own studios that made The Division 2, a very wide open world story-driven game. They are working on the open world Star Wars game. And for the announcement to be out, I would assume that this has probably been in the works for a while. It's not like they just signed a contract and we're like, hey, now we're making the announcement. I would assume that the conversations with Ubisoft had been happening for a bit, even before the announcement of the end of exclusivity for EA, which has happened a full 2 years before it should have ended. 2023 was the end of the contract. So
you got to wonder what type of language was in that contract, because you know Disney was not going to go into this without having a ripcord or the upper hand in negotiations at every turn.
Like some sort of opt-out was written into that contract. I
guarantee Disney lost nothing by pulling this early in terms of like they probably didn't have to pay a penalty for breaking the contract. I guarantee when this was signed, it was like, we're Disney, we have the license. Do you want it? Yes or no? And then all the fine print was like, we own you, we own your firstborn, your secondborn, we own your future, we own your past and your present. Yeah,
I mean, Disney has some of the best lawyers on the planet. Like, let's just be real. Right. As a massive conglomerate corporation like they are, they have lawyers that know ins and outs and loopholes and all these different things that other people had never even dreamed or learned about. I mean, we got a little bit of that just from talking to Matthew from GTP Toys. Like, they essentially told him, like, there is no negotiation. Yeah. You either do what we tell you and you get the license,
that's exactly what he says.
Or
like,
you don't.
They dropped off the contract, said, do you like it? He said, well, should we read it? Do we have any leverage here? And they're like, nope. I said, okay. Then, we like it.
I like it. And, I mean, granted, EA is also a very large corporation, but when you're literally working with licensed property that's not owned by you, you don't have a lot of ground to stand on. Like, I'm sure that there were clauses in there, but that Disney and Lucasfilm put in that said, if these terms aren't met by X date, then we have the ability to end exclusivity ahead of the contract date or anything like that. So it's not surprising that this has come down. And like I said, the real indication to me last week was we get the Lucasfilm Games announcement, but it wasn't that. It was that the day after Lucasfilm Games was announced, they announced that Indiana Jones game immediately. Right. They were like, here, Bethesda's working on it. Get ready.
Yeah, and they even had some very generic assets to show off.
Yeah, they had like a small trailer ready to go. I was like, they're already ready.
Yeah, so I mean, the Lucasfilm Games, they haven't just been sitting around with their thumbs up their collective assholes. Shit's been happening because I know I brought this up last week, but the whole revival of Lucasfilm Games didn't just happen last week. I mean, there was, Nick, it was probably a year and a half ago at this point where they put out there like, oh, hey, you guys remember Lucasfilm Games? And then it was LucasArts and this, or LucasArts and Lucasfilm Games. Well, Lucasfilm Games is back just in case you wanted to know. And we're like, all right, cool. Well, there was no game announced with that, so everyone just kind of forgot about it. But as Nick said, that was probably them, sticking their flag into the moon and saying, here we are. We're going to start assembling teams. We're going to start developing games. We're just not going to tell anyone yet until it gets closer to where our lawyer overlords can figure out the clause in the contract with EA to basically say, na boo boo, stick your head in poo poo. We're out of here. Yeah.
I mean, in the article on StarWarsTime.net, there's a couple of quotes just from Yves Guillemot, who is the CEO of Ubisoft, and then we also talked, and then Julian Garrity, who is the creative director for the game that's being developed at Massive Entertainment. Not anything that's gonna tip you off in terms of the era or the characters or anything like that. It's literally just like, we're super happy to have it. We're excited to work with Lucasfilm.
All we can go off of, Nick, to put our our source hats on are the facts that it's Massive Entertainment who developed Division 2.
Division 2,
open world, story driven.
Yes. I mean, that literally, I mean, you could do that in any era.
Correct.
You could bring in a completely new era.
Well, I guess first and foremost is they're saying the right things early on, because this is the genre that, I mean, just last year with the arrival of Ghost of Tsushima and how awesome that was, where every Tuesday we'd get on here and essentially jerk that game off and then lament the fact that we don't have a Star Wars game set in its exact universe with the same mechanics, delivery, all that fun stuff. And now, a few months later, we're in 2021, the world still sucks, America's on fire, but we did get the reveal that an open world Star Wars game is finally being worked on. So
essentially what we wanted. Right. And I mean, if you want to go back to, like you said, the roots of these kind of open world sandbox games, really the style that we're seeing now with Ghosts was influenced heavily by AC. AC was really one of the first sandbox games that was heavily story driven that had ever come out. I mean, like the first Assassin's Creed
honestly, the only way this announcement would have been better is if it said Sucker Punch is developing the game versus Ubisoft.
Yeah,
because Ubisoft, let's be real, they created the genre. The first few ACs were magic. Yeah, but starting with what was the one that was just a disaster? Unity, where it was almost like Cyberpunk bad in terms of the launch glitches. But from there, they became kind of hit or miss. Is like, okay. I mean, Nick and I, we've talked about Valhalla, how it even feels like it took a step back from Odyssey a bit. The combat's goofy. It's not, at least to me, it never really managed to suck me in. I mean, the fact that I'd prefer to play a more or less glitchy, buggy, broken version of Cyberpunk over Valhalla, I think speaks volumes about at least how that game has performed with me. But either way, they've said a lot of good things. And I guess, I mean, our question of the week was kind of diving into this. What would fans do if they were kind of running this project? What would their open world Star Wars game be? And my question to you, Nick, do you want it to star the mystical side of Star Wars, meaning you are a Force user, or would you prefer it like some people in the chat here, like Chewie's left nut, and others that we'll talk about their answers once we hit the fan segment, where they want it to be more bounty hunter-esque, Mandalorian, kind of your traveling warrior type?
It's hard because I love games with Jedi or Force user protagonists. So for me, I would probably like it a little bit better if it was a Jedi or some sort of Force user. It doesn't need to be Jedi. It could be a Sith or whatever. Like a Force user who doesn't even know Jedi or Sith. He just knows that he has this ability, and maybe he's learning about his powers as the story goes along. There's a lot of options to do it. But I would never turn down a game that is based around a bounty hunter or a mercenary or something like that. I just feel like if we're going to go with like an AC style of game, it would make unless you're playing like some sort of like benevolent mercenary who's just helping everybody around him, it would make more sense for it to be a Jedi or something like that.
I mean, I guess just in the back of my head, if I'm writing down or scripting out what I'd want in this type of game, if it is going to be more, as like Nick said, more of an AC, more of a Ghost, where it is an open world game, but the purpose is for you to kind of learn about the world, interact with other characters, to expose more of the world to you, some of the secrets of that world to you. 100% I want that to be Force user based. If it is more like a Ghost, like I said, Force user based. But if we're going to go with a game that is more GTA, more Red Dead, more even Cyberpunk 2077, I would 100% want that to be the scoundrel, the bounty hunter, the gunslinger type, because it makes more sense. Like, don't get me wrong, I would love to just fire up in the sub levels of Coruscant and go around and punch people in the face and steal their speeder bikes. Mm-hmm. That would be fun, but not really as a Force user. As a Force user, I'd want more of a story. I'd want, just like how we watch Jin Sakai grow from being a very traditional samurai warrior, yes sir, all that type of shit, to becoming more or less a ninja, right? Like he went against the samurai code for the most part. So I would like to... I would like it not to be a known character in either if it's bounty or Force. I would kind of like to be the star, one of those deals.
Yeah, I agree.
But
I mean, I think that both games could be incredible, whether it's Force user or non. What I think would be really interesting is if you treated it more as a planet hopping expedition, especially if you're playing a bounty hunter. Like say you are playing a bounty hunter, you essentially start as like and you want to kind of do not really lore building, but like character reputation building. Like you could start off as a bounty hunter who's just joined the guild, and like you're doing small jobs, and then like you get contracts to go to like, you go to Tatooine. You already start on Tatooine, but then you go to Naboo for one, or you go to Nar Shaddaa, or you're essentially planets.
You are the Mandalorian, but not the Mandalorian per se, where your missions are going to take you to different worlds, to meet different characters, meet different shitty people, good people, all that jazz.
Yeah, I think that something like that could be really fun for a non-Force user focused thing, and then like eventually you could build up your reputation to where you become like, maybe you choose to become a crime boss and you don't want to be a fucking bounty hunter anymore. Or you can like branch off your paths. Like if you want to continue being a bounty hunter, if you want to become like a a crime boss, or if you want to start your own syndicate or something like that. There's a lot of different things.
More RPG than even Ghost or Assassin's Creed ever gave you, right? Like more along the lines of what you can do in Cyberpunk, where you don't necessarily fall into a class, but based on your actions and some stuff you do, you kind of define your place in society.
Yeah, and I think that would be it. Them calling out this open world story driven. I think that's the way that story driven is kind of moving to, where the player has input in story, almost like old BioWare, where like your decisions shaped the narrative that was being told. And there's not a lot of studios outside of BioWare who did that successfully, or who even attempted to do that. It's such a hard narrative.
No, it is. And
to tell.
Cyberpunk is there. It just didn't put its best foot forward, unfortunately, because it's a game where, for example, I was doing a side job and some shit got a little squirrely, and I was like, you know what, fuck it. I just killed everybody. It's like, you weren't supposed to, but it's a game that, even though that mission was like, dude, you got to be stealth. I wasn't stealth. It didn't end the game and make me redo it. It just was like, well, you didn't do it the way you're supposed to, so you don't get anything for that mission. But it didn't harm my progress. It didn't really enhance it, but it made it feel like I was in control of my story. I didn't want to fucking go in and steal it like a ninja. I wanted to go in just like I've been doing in every other mission and pull out my gun and blow off their face without even saying a word. And it let me do it. And I lost out on, I scared people. I potentially lost out on another mission, but that's how I wanted to do it, and it let me do it.
Yeah. I think that's the way that it should be done. But then again, like a game like Ghost, you don't have that option. Like, yeah, you can choose to go stealth or not, but it doesn't really affect the story that's being told.
Right.
And that is potentially one of the best games that I've played in the last 10 years.
I agree, because for me, there's a fine line with these games, because I can go off the beaten path and get lost and just lose focus. It's like, all right, there's too many little random things to do. I need to get back to the main mission. I do like how Ghosts allowed you to, hey, yeah, it's open world, but there still is a clear main path through the game. You can go fart around, do whatever the hell you want. You can kill people without honor, and for the most part, you're still going to end up in a similar place as everyone else. And that's fine, because sometimes I don't like all that choice. I guess my next question, Nick, do you want this to be a first-person experience, third-person, or ability to toggle?
Third person. And I think that's what might be putting me off of Cyberpunk, is that as I've progressed through my gaming, I've become much more of a third person action type of player. And I still enjoy first person games. I played first person shooters competitively for many years and stuff like that, but in terms of my gaming preference now, I really do like third person better. So I hope that's the direction that it goes in. But I think that there are ways that you can do first person story driven correctly.
I mean, honestly, first person bodes much better for our shooting type of characters. So, the bounty hunters, the scoundrels, those types. I mean, you could definitely get away with some third person. I know it's not an easy thing. I mean, a lot of people, gamers, we're all assholes. You don't really understand what it takes to code a game, but they're like, I should be able to toggle between first and third. I mean, if you just process the amount of code that takes to do,
it's difficult.
There's a reason Cyberpunk doesn't have a third person option. I mean, it's already a massive game that's fucked up, so they can't. I will
tell you too that more often than not, the reason that you can't toggle between it is if you are a primarily first-person game, they most of the time won't even render your body when you're playing.
Right, like you might get feet just in case you happen to pan the camera down to the ground.
Yeah, but like if you've ever seen first person glitches where like you can see inside of your face and all you see are eyeballs, that's why. I mean, a couple of the few games to do it are Bethesda games. Like Bethesda games will give you the option to play first or third, specifically in Skyrim and in Fallout. But those games are developed over. I mean, so is
and I'll argue, Nick, games that do allow the toggle. Neither
they can get wonky.
Exactly. Neither form feels perfect. And to me, the third person always feels extra wonky in those games that give you Skyrim. When you said that, I was like, Jesus, I remember, switching to third and that, and it was like controlling a stick man that did not respond to all of his sticks.
It was very weird when you did kind of pull out in the third
person.
Tones
is saying he not only wants the option for first and third, he also wants VR for PlayStation and PC users.
It's a lot to ask for, man. And it's like the reason why you haven't seen a lot of these titles go from standard controller based or PC like keyboard and mouse based to VR is because it completely changes the dynamic of how the user interacts with the world. And I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, here's the other deal. I mean, I've only played one VR game that I would consider to be an actual real game. It wasn't just gimmicky, like on rails type of nonsense. It's called Farpoint VR. It even came with like an actual rifle attachment for the Move controllers. You actually walked. You know how a lot of VR games, you don't walk, you teleport, or you have, quarter turns. It's very off-putting. And the other thing with VR, in that game, you can make yourself feel deathly ill in VR if you're walking a character at a normal video game's character walking pace, if that makes sense. Anyone that's done VR, you know what I'm talking about. Now, if you get in there and you're trying to move a character around while you're the eyes and ears and in that world of the character, I mean, you could very well make yourself toss your cookies. So try doing that for a 60-plus hour game. It's just, I don't know. I don't think the human brain and eyes can do that. Now, if they did what they did, what's that place called at Disney Springs? The Void or whatever the hell it is?
The Void, yeah.
Now, if they did that where we all have these packs on that we can wear and we walk through warehouses in the VR space, then fuck yeah, sign me up. That's still the greatest VR experience I've ever had, because you are actually, as a living, breathing human, walking, ducking, aiming, shooting in a VR space. So you're probably not going to get that, Tones. I mean, I'm not going to. It's a good ask. We got to ask for the moon and stars when it comes to this stuff, my friends.
Yeah.
But stuff like that probably just isn't going to happen for development aspects. It's
also, at this point, VR is heavily dying
it's going.
out again.
It's back on the decline. It's just as I predicted when I was still back in the video game space. It's a fantastic technology. It can do amazing things, but we still struggle as developers to make must-play experiences in virtual reality, and not just one a year. Right? I mean, you could argue Squadrons is a must-play VR experience, but okay, that's one game out of 1,000 that got released in 2020.
Yeah, and it's just and Squadrons was unique because it was kind of that dual thing like Tones was talking about. It wasn't a full-fledged like $60 game, but it also, it was a dual experience where you could choose to play it with a controller, or you could choose to play it in a VR headset setting.
And that works with flying, because either way, your point of view is just a fixed cockpit, right? And then the world rotates around you. So there wasn't a lot into it. And I will say, like, PlayStation, the only home console that gives you VR, has said, like, PSVR, like PS5 will support PSVR, but like we're not making a new one for PS5. Right. So you're right. I mean, the install base is down. It would not happen, but. Am I poo-pooing on a VR action Star Wars? No, I would love it. Like I said, do it in the void, give us all fake lightsabers, and let us run around a warehouse swinging violently into the thin air. But in our minds, we'll be kicking ass and taking names.
Exactly.
So Nick, we'll have more to talk about the video games because, like I said, the fan question a week is all about that. So I'm sure we'll be commenting. And
the one other thing I want to hit on before we close this real quick, for people who were asking like KOTOR 3, make this KOTOR 3, if that was going to happen, that would have happened under EA because KOTOR is a BioWare property.
They own that.
Yeah. So if KOTOR 3 was going to happen, it would have happened before. And
again, EA hasn't been completely shut off. I mean, they're still allowed to play in the sandbox. So, I mean, it's very possible that it does come out, but KOTOR 3 won't happen because the EA exclusivity has ended. That could have been done regardless. And knowing that BioWare is now working on a new Mass Effect game, highly unlikely that you're going to get a KOTOR 3 or continuation of that. Just not even in the realm. I mean, especially considering that a lot of what KOTOR 3 would have been was done in Star Wars: The Old Republic, the game that I'm playing, the online one thing
game.
I will say for this open world game, as we put it to bed, and just to get everyone prepared for it, I would not be surprised if it is set in the High Republic era, just to keep driving material into that new era, to keep expanding upon it. So just be prepared. I'm not going to say that that's going to upset me because hopefully once I get through more of the comics and the book, I'm going to be all in on the High Republic. But we all know the Star Wars fandom. We all know there's going to be people out there going like, High Republic, what the fuck? You got all this content. Skywalker, Luke, Mando, Grogu. You know what I mean? So
that's what I told you guys last week. I said, if you want to be ready, if you want to be in with the future of Star Wars storytelling, get in on the High Republic ground floor. I would not be surprised if this game was High Republic driven.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's going to be that way. If I had my choice, I would probably go end of the OT. Actually, I would like it right around the Mandalorian timeline, if not just the fucking Mandalorian, the video game. All right, let's be real. Yeah. I would take that any day of the week, just like the rest of you. We control Din. You can have a party. You get Neo Boba can pop in and out. Dummy Kara can pop in and out. Bo-Katan. You can go visit Grogu and Luke doing their thing. That's not going to happen either, but I would love it. I
mean, it's either going to be like you're either going to establish a new timeline with it, like what happened with the original Knights of the Old Republic game, where you completely establish a new timeline.
You're right. I don't think that's Disney though, man. I think they got plans. They want their timelines, the ones they've created. So I know you'll be able to handle it. But we know Star Wars fans, and they'll definitely get some of them fired up to the point to where they want to burn down the mouse again. So just be prepared.
I'm not a crazy person. I will consume the content that is provided to me.
Exactly.
But I'll have opinions on it. Yes, but also I get enjoyment out of Star Wars.
He's not going to let it ruin his day, is what he's saying.
Yeah, like,
it's just like last week. Like, if you ever think you're going to get Nick any more worked up than last week, like the end of last week's show, that's about it. That's about as worked up as he gets. I don't know. I think Big Amish pulled a clip for our TikTok. Check us out. We got Big Amish helping us there on the TikTok, the social media intern. But I think he pulled a clip of Nick's rant, and I'm just sitting there laughing the whole time. I'm laughing because I know that this is Nick being angry. Like, that was his Matt's Bozo Fett rant. It's just way more civilized.
So subdued. The one thing that annoys me in life and in Star Wars and in everything is other people's incompetence or other people's stupidity. Of course. And last week was an example of that because it was other people stupidly saying that the High Republic is bad when they had never even read anything about it. Like, and that just gets to me.
I'm with you too, man. I mean, everyone is entitled to an opinion. I still understand what opinions mean. I understand they're way different than fact. What I don't understand is forming opinions based on other people's opinions, or like Nick said, having a strong opinion on something you've never even checked out yourself.
Yeah, like
it goes back to our review discussion. Like, do you Do you wait for reviews? Do you watch video game reviews, movie reviews? And I'm like, to me, the only reviews worth checking out are for items that are going to cost you a lot of fucking money. Otherwise, roll the dice, go in clean, and see what happens. Because even if someone says, it was okay, you will go into that game, that book, that movie, that show with a preconceived notion of it being average. And the way you watch it can actually change. I'm telling you. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, it happened with me in Wonder Woman 84. It's all blown up. It's awesome. And then, okay, everyone can watch it now. It's terrible. Even knowing that, I went in with a skewed idea of what I was about to watch. And it did ultimately affect how I felt about the film after all. I have watched it twice. I can confirm to you that Wonder Woman 84 is not that good. It is a C. It's a 7 out of 10, 70 out of 100, however you want to rate it. There you go.
There you go. All right. Last piece of news we got before we get into the fan segment this week is it's an overhead shot of the Kenobi set, and it comes from the Sun UK.
Yeah, how about that,
I will
dude?
say after... Yeah, I mean, like, it's not a leak. It's not anything else. It literally came from a news source. I don't know what the Sun is. Apparently, I read the Reddit comments.
Tones, if you're not napping yet, or figure fucking hurts if you're out there before work, is the Sun kind of like a rag out there? I mean, is it like a shithead magazine? Like a National Enquirer over here? Is that just like a national magazine? It's like on the up and up, like it's legit.
Somebody said on the Reddit thread that it's like the Fox News of the UK.
Okay, so yeah, a bunch of shitheads, like a propaganda shithole that is contributing to the downfall of civil discourse. Which makes sense considering that these people literally, it looks like they rented a helicopter and buzzed one of the Star Wars sets that have been built in the UK. And Nick, I don't know,
the town
like how
Little Marlow.
Okay, Trevor is spot on. That makes sense. Thank you, Trevor. 1-6 shooter.
It's like the
New York Post that makes complete sense because that is basically like a shit show magazine. Just trust me. It's not real. They put a lot of bullshit in there. Let's just say Trump, I believe, was really good buddies with the person that ran the Post, and they used to spin stories or kill stories that would affect the Fuhrer. So it's one of those type of deals. But anyways, Sun UK literally got themselves a helicopter, a small plane, a glider, hung by the feet of geese. Who knows? But they got a bunch of overhead shots of a very Star Wars-y looking set that is being used to film one of the current shows. And I know, Nick, I was saying, like, how far down did you get into the Reddit thread that this came from? Because a lot of people are sitting there like, what? How's this Kenobi? How is this Kenobi? Because if you're looking at the pictures, if you're on the live stream, you're checking these pictures out, what we see is a fully realized town, if you will. And it is about as not Tatooine, most this, most that inspired looking as it gets, right? I mean, to me, it does have kind of a Tatooine feel. That's my opinion, because like you can see that the coloration of the buildings are pretty much exactly the same as the coloration of the buildings that we saw throughout Tatooine. It's still using the same like stone in terms of the building material. I feel like it does feel Tatooine. But I don't know. I mean, like, do you not feel that?
No, I don't. Okay. Even look at the doors. Like, the doors are all Hobbit style. They're like these circle doors, which I don't remember from Tatooine. Tatooine had a lot of those, sliding elevator type of doors.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to go back and look at Mos Pelgo from.
Well, dude, Mos Pelgo is nothing. I can tell you right now. It's like two buildings, and they still have that very dome-looking hovel structure to the Lars homestead, like that type of building. Like, I'm not getting any of the iconic Tatooine dome structures here, which obviously they don't have ceilings, so who knows? Maybe they'll put them in digitally. It it didn't feel most Isley. It didn't feel most Espa. And I could really be a douche and be like, well, Nick, it's clearly not Tatooine because they have red sand down instead of sand.
See, I think I didn't even take that as like, I took this as completely unfinished in the way that like they didn't even put the sand down yet. So like I was looking at this as like an unfinished set because we know that Kenobi doesn't start filming until March. So there's still a lot of time for there to be set completions and stuff done.
The overall architecture doesn't speak Tatooine, at least what we've seen on Tatooine in the past, which clearly, just because we know of 3 cities on Tatooine doesn't mean we know the whole damn planet. I understand that.
Yeah.
All right. I understand.
I just looked at like the building material, the color of the buildings, the fact that they are essentially built in the same kind of cramped, almost like strip mall style.
But I mean,
like
so was Navarro, Jeddah. I mean, we're getting into the chat here, a Jeddah feel.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that as well. I mean, if it's Kenobi, again, we don't know this is a Kenobi set. We do know that Kenobi is being filmed.
Yeah, I mean, I believe the Sun ran with this is the Kenobi set, but dorks like us were like, oh, but it doesn't look like Tatooine. It could be the Andor, which to me, this set feels very much more Andor than Kenobi, but let's not be the same fools we were with Mandalorian. We're like, there's no way they're ever gonna bring a Skywalker onto the show. I'll whip myself if they do it.
I will say that given the filming timelines, a set finished to this degree in the UK is 95% Kenobi. I mean, we know that Andor is
they're filming over there too.
It is, but I just don't think that this just feels like a Kenobi set to me. Right.
It feels like an Andor set to me.
I mean,
not that I even know what the fuck that is yet, but
yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell, but I to me, I looked at it and I looked at the coloration of the buildings. I looked at the building style and I thought it felt like Tatooine.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? And we could be surprised. Like I said, I think we've all learned our oh, Jesus. Something almost came up on that one. I think we've all learned our lesson after Mando season 2, and that is to expect the unexpected, to just because something seems either too obvious or too of a reach, don't automatically write it off, right? Like, I mean, this very well could be Kenobi, and maybe he does get his ass a starship and goes to another part of the planet or leaves the planet for some reason. Hell, maybe this is a part of a flashback moment, and you're going to see Kenobi and Anakin walking through whatever fuck city this is, talking about the good old days when they were bros. So I'm trying to escape it's got to play out this way, can only look this way, because obviously Disney and the people working for the Disney Plus Star Wars shows have proven to us that they're not idiots. They got tricks up their sleeves, and they're not afraid to go places that fans think could never be a reality.
Yeah, I agree. So it's hard to tell other than likely a sandy place given the way that the buildings look. So it could be Jeddah. I mean, if you are if you're in the Kenobi timeline, Jeddah is still there. Yeah, so you could go to Jeddah. That
city has not been wiped off of that planet
yet. It has not been destroyed yet. I mean, it could be realistically on Tatooine, we've only been a couple places. Like it's a whole
There's another
planet.
one. Like I'm going to give Chewbacca's left nut. This is not a bad one either. I mean, it almost looks like Corvus. There's a Corvus look to it. And like I said, I mean, it could be, Star Wars Hobbiton. You just don't know. What it is neat too, because I mean, we used to see stuff like this all the time before the pandemic, when this art form could be done out in the open and all the time. There'd be leaks for this, that, and the other thing. So I guess as someone that's been into this scene, the Star Wars news scene, leak scene, it's refreshing to see shit like this again, right? It's like, okay, yeah, we are still making some moving images for the TV or the big screen. But it's nice to speculate over. But yeah, who the fuck knows? I mean,
who knows?
It's clearly Andor or Kenobi. I don't know. I'm still gonna go with Andor.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it definitely could be either, but
because I still believe I believe Big Dick Ewan McGregor. Is he a Sir yet? Has he been knighted? He should be knighted up there with Sir Paul. But I believe he was like, listen, if you want Mr. Hello there to come back, I'm not leaving the fucking volume. Like, if we're sitting on Tatooine, you assholes better figure out a way to get this all done inside with the big pretty screens, because I'm not fucking around outside. I don't want to get wet. I don't want to get cold. I am Ewan. I've got the high ground, McGregor. Thank you.
Yeah. So filming for Andor started in November.
Yeah, which this could very well,
which I mean falls in line.
Have been used for it. So
yeah, could I mean it could still be being filmed in London. That says filming for the series began in London at the end of November 2020.
It's just when I look at this as someone in the collecting space, like these are your big boy and girl diorama builders right here. Like if you look at this set, like this is what the toy people do with their foam, and it's impressive. But look what these motherfuckers do it with actual buildings. I mean, it's mostly just front-facing stuff, but they are still fully crafted structures.
Like interior as well. Like you have to have stuff built out in the interior so you could film in the interior. So.
Liam keeps saying, let's look at the Andor, concept art. That's fine. I mean, I agree with you. Look it up and let us know. I'm in the middle of a live show.
Yeah, we can't do it right now.
I just can't start pulling shit up because you never know if our website will actually function in the browser I use.
Yeah, and, there's just... It could be either is the best way to put it. And I mean, just like... I don't know. Like,
yes, you're right, Vicente. These are real ass dios, just like our real ass paint,
real ass
all that shit.
I mean, some of the concept, but like that's the thing is like some of the concept art that they showed in the sizzle reel. I don't remember there being anything that was very city-like.
No, like the biggest one I remember is the one where I'm speculating, or my source told me, where we're gonna maybe see Andor being younger. And he was remember that planet, Nick, where you had old Galactic Republic Star Destroyers kind of on their side, where they almost became living structures, and then you saw little towns around them. So the first, I just linked Matt a
right,
thing. Here we go. We're doing it, Liam. See, you get what you want.
So this says all 11 concept art pieces revealed from the sizzle reel. The only one you got to look at is the first one. And you can kind of see, like,
look right there. You got circle doors right there, Nick.
Yeah, you got a circle door. So yeah,
done.
I mean, this is potentially.
It's from Andor. We solved it. Thanks, Andor. Liam. It's done.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely could be Andor.
Right there, Nick is right. I mean, I'm being a little bit of my narcissistic ass that I usually am, but I'm doubling down now that the leak set is for Andor. Look at that, an unknown city right there. Circle doors, kind of the same structure. Done. We solved it for you once again on the Star Wars Time Show with help from the young Liam.
There we go. So yeah, now I have to go in and change everything. Overhead view of Andor set.
Done.
God,
it's fucking done. We did it. We did it.
Okay. I sussed out on
told
the show.
You, our sources finally got to us in our earpieces and just said, "Go ahead and tell them it's Andor."
Yes.
There we go.
They gave us
we did it. We did it.
All right, so that's all the news though for this week. As we said, there wasn't a lot. We still juiced nearly 2 hours out of
course,
almost nothing.
Of course.
But it's time to get into our fan segment this week, and as Matt said to me earlier today, it is hard to come up with questions when there's no Star Wars content happening. But the one that we came up with was, if you were designing it, describe your ideal open world Star Wars game from Ubisoft in a few sentences or less. He literally put a governor on you, Bastajan. He was like, few sentences or less.
He did it. He came through, though. He came through.
He did. He did.
All right, I'll go ahead and start because I think he's up front. I'll take a few and then turn it over to you because the old prostate has filled up. It's starting to pinch a little bit. The bladder needs to let loose. All right. Now for the clickbait title. You're right, Liam. We got to get better at that. If only we had people on Reddit that didn't auto block our domain, we probably could start to generate some of that buzz that KRT gets, but alas, we're banned.
Yeah.
All right, so here we go. Question of the week with the Groucho Marx emoji. If you were designing it, describe your ideal open world Star Wars game from Ubisoft in a few sentences or less. See, I put that in there because you have to include that it's going to be glitchy.
Yeah.
All right.
There we go.
So up first is from our buddy Bossajan, who I don't know if he recruited Chewbacca's left nut, but Chewbacca's left nut is definitely of the same ilk, slightly demented. Yes. I like it. I forgot to tell Nick in the chat, Chewbacca's left nut told us this is great. He found the Star Wars Time Show by going on Apple's podcast, and he thought ours looked cheesy enough to give a try.
Great.
I was like, hey, whatever stands out, whatever works, because he's like, it looked cheesy enough, and now he's addicted. I'll take it. I will take it.
Yeah, that's a win.
I'll take it. We're like a skin rash. It looks a little cheesy, but if you rub it on yourself, you might get addicted to that feel.
There we go.
All right, so here he is. Star Wars Toy 73, Darth Hideous, a.k.a. Bossajam. I've said it before, a re-skinned Destiny, either strictly Mando-centric or High Republic based, and I'm not opposed to that at all. I like that.
I think with that style of game, Destiny is heavily dependent on multiplayer interaction, though, which would be interesting to see if they could basically make an unnamed protagonist and build it as kind of an MMO light where you still have story elements that are being told, like more like in Destiny 2 than in Destiny 1. Right. But it is more focused on multiplayer content.
Just going out,
playing together,
looting shit, shooting shit, trying to get the best gear you can get. And I think that would be a perfect setup for the for the more shooter, the scoundrel, the bounty hunters. I don't know if I'd like that as Jedi, but I would take that. I mean, Destiny, I have not played the most recent. I might check it out because I forgot to bring this up. Nick, I finally decided to give Games Pass a try on Microsoft because I mean it's essentially Netflix for games, albeit you're limited to EA Play, Microsoft first party, and just older games. But you have access to over 100 titles whenever you want to. You just download them because you're paying a monthly fee. And if you already buy Xbox Live Gold in a game or two a year, that's essentially what Games Pass costs. I think it's $180 if you get the ultimate for the year, where $60, that's how much you got to pay just to use Xbox Live. So $120 these days with the way games cost, I was like, fuck it. Who cares? Let's try this thing out. And it's pretty damn cool. I mean, I'll tell you what, you're probably going to laugh, but the game I spent the most time with was this new Tetris Effect Connected. Dude, it's like, I mean, it is, I've always liked Tetris, but it's a game where I feel like if you were on acid and didn't know that you were playing this version of Tetris, your mind may have felt like you finally transcended time and space and have become one with the universe. Dude, it's like when you lay blocks, people start talking to you and shit's flashing on the screen. I mean, it is highly visual. It is way whacked out.
Hey man, whatever you draw enjoyment from, if that's what you're into, then fuck it. Yeah,
it was neat, but I don't know. I'm glad I finally checked out Games Pass because now I can play some of the Gears Tactics. I don't have to buy it; it's part of the sub. I'm not even sure how the fuck we got here. Oh, that's right. Destiny's latest expansion is a part of Games Pass, so I probably will check it out because.
So that's the Beyond Light.
Yeah, exactly. That's the only one I haven't played. I've played every expansion because, like you said, Destiny does give you a bit of a structured narrative, right? Like there's usually a story with these expansions, and then it's post content. It's just the grind for your light levels. But sorry, big fucking tangent there.
Yeah.
Tetris really. Look at these cocksuckers. Hey, I grew up in the dawn of gaming. I'll play anything. I mean, when you grow up,
dude, I remember
you grew up, Nick, right? When you grow up playing in 4-bit and 8-bit systems, any game is a joy.
Dude, that's why like little shit games, like, I mean, even I feel like people our age are more of the people who play like SWGO, because I feel like if a 13-year-old picked up SWGO, they'd be like, what the fuck?
It'd be
this
the
is
dumbest
dumb
shit in the world, because it's not just constant.
Yeah, but like for us, like who both grew up playing like NES, SNES, Game Boy, like original big ass brick Game Boy, like with no colors, you could get enjoyment out of anything. Like, you know, as long as it is relatively interactive and your motions cause feedback, then it counts.
Apparently me playing the most the LSD version of Tetris has really dated me, according to Liam, and now he is waiting with bated breath for me to start playing Facebook games like real old people do.
Look, I don't know. I feel like Facebook games are for people who don't play real video games, right. And that puts us beyond.
It's almost like a renaissance is happening with me in my gaming passion, because the 10 years I took to play in real gaming media damn near killed the hobby, because it went from wanting to play the next hottest thing to, oh, I've got to review Buttfuckers on PC from Joe Blow Studios. It's like, great, cool. Yeah. Or
you got to play a lot,
or anything you get. Even the good games you get them early, you'd be like, sweet. But in the back of your head is like, you got to get it done. You got to get through it. You got to get the review out. Blah blah blah. It just kind of soured the hobby. But now that I've been away from that for over a year now, I don't know. I mean, I'm a gamer first and foremost. I mean, I am a Star Wars fan at my core. I can't even tell you. I've always been a Star Wars fan. That's how long that's happened. But up next was gaming. So getting back to it and actually doing it on a daily basis again has been nice. And I don't give a shit if I'm playing Tetris or not. I'm gaming. That's all that matters.
As long as it's something, and you're getting enjoyment out of it.
Tetris on the weekends after I had a few beers and it's late at night, that shit, like, I feel like I'm going to church. Because it is not the Russian Tetris that we all remember you've played on your T80 Texas Instrument calculator. I mean, this is it's like rave Tetris.
Yeah, I wonder if Liam, I don't know if kids still play games on their calculators anymore. Liam might not remember.
I've actually heard that there's still an issue, because you would think, well, fuck, they have smartphones now. Why not just use those as your calculator? Smartphones, for the most part, are banned in math classes and shit, because you can just go on the internet and research stuff. So I guess the TIs are still being used, but programmers have gotten better to where I believe even the TIs, they can program to cheat now. So who the fuck knows what's going on? But let's continue on. Sorry, a little tangent there on the gaming. Up next, this comes from Go Figure. They would like open galaxy, different faction options, bounty hunting, and starship battles. Drop the mic.
This kind of sounds like Eve Online. I'm sure you've heard of the game,
totally.
Matt. Yeah, I mean, like, if you've been in the gaming space for a long time, Eve Online is like one of the longest standing MMOs out there, and it has become like a real world economy and society unto itself.
Right.
It kind of sounds like this, like, different faction options, which is in Eve, starship battles, which is in Eve.
Right. So you have like you got Crimson Dawn. You got the Spice Guild, or whoever the hell they were.
So this kind of sounds like a new style MMO, almost kind of like Star Wars Galaxies, except more focused on like the actual kind of like you said, like the underworld factions. where you can jump in and like, when you create your character, almost like in Star Wars: The Old Republic, you create your character. Are you Imperial? Are you Republic? This would be like, are you Crimson Dawn? Right. Are you, Blue Sun? Are you, Black Hand? Like all of these different syndicates and stuff like that. And then
you could take on bounties if you wanted to. You could just go start shooting people in your starship if you wanted to.
It would be interesting too, because if you built a game like that, like I get a bounty, I'm Blue Sun, but you also have the opportunity to get that bounty. You're Crimson Dawn, so we show up at the bounty, and we're both trying to get it. So then all of a sudden, you're now in a PvP battle. You have to kill the other bounty hunter.
See, that shit would stress me out too much. I will say at this point in my life, I don't want to fuck with other real people in most of my games. Especially if it's to compete for something. Like, I just don't want that stress. I don't need it. That is a stroke waiting to happen. All right, up next, definitely. Ordering toys. We got a few new responses. I don't know if that means we're getting new fans or the algo just showed it to different people in the morning. But ordering toys, I don't know the whole game, but something where you are on Tatooine driving a land speeder for about 20 minutes or more after a Jawa barge. Then when you get there, it's an impossible platformer. I was like, well, that's a vision, if anything else.
Interesting take.
It's like I'm assuming where the game starts, it's almost like a driving game. You're chasing down this barge, but once you get to it, it turns into a platformer.
Like a Mario.
Yeah, it's almost like the Star Wars games on the Super Nintendo, like SNES, where it would mix genres in between levels. I mean, you'd have driving levels, you'd have platforming, you kind of had action combat here, boss battles.
That would be interesting. I like that concept. Very cool. Okay. Well, nice thought from ordering toys. All right, next up we have Action Figure Neverland. He says World of Warcraft / SWTOR style. I'd want another MMORPG, but I'd settle for just an RPG. I'm almost done with reading Light of the Jedi, and I think it'd be cool to center the game around that era, since we know a lot of the people don't like to read. It'll be another cool outlet to flesh out that era. It'd be awesome if you could play a Nile. And then he responds and says, and no, I didn't misspell SWTOR, Star Wars. Oh, the Old Republic.
Like that. Did I go pee yet?
You did not.
Okay.
So if you want to pee,
that just goes to show people that are listening here. I truly do go into a trance on the show. I know like 10 minutes ago, I was like, dude, I really got to piss. And then I just got right back into it. And now I'm sitting here as Nick's talking. I am fighting my head going, did you pee or did you not pee? And if you pee and you already forgot and you already have to pee again, you need to check yourself into a fucking hospital.
Yeah, the prostate.
I was like, Jesus.
May have a problem. I will say for Brian, it is almost impossible. I mean,
Nick, do they even do MMOs anymore? Has that kind of died out?
That's exactly what I was going to say. Most studios now don't even attempt to make MMOs because it is impossible to break into the space. Mostly because World of Warcraft dominates.
People still play that, like it's still active in subscriptions.
World of Warcraft is as popular now as it was when it released, because apparently the new Shadowlands expansion is incredible. But like,
and we're talking Warcraft, I mean, is this 15 years at this point that world's been alive on their servers, or at least 10?
World of Warcraft? Oh, World of Warcraft came out in 2004, so 17
Jesus
years.
Christ.
Blizzard. But that's the problem, is like, unless you have, and this is what makes it possible for Star Wars, unless you have a franchise tied to it, it will most likely fail within the first 3 years.
And even Star Wars failed. I mean, how long did Galaxies live before they pulled the plug?
Star Wars Galaxies actually lasted a while, and the funny thing is the reason that it died was because Star Wars: The Old Republic came out. So Star Wars Galaxies came out in 2003, and then it ended its run in 2008.
Well, I remember they had they just kind of let the server run, and some
server shut down on December 15, 2011.
Yeah, and like the players that were left, they had a big ceremony and shit like that.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, is like it shut down on December 15, 2011, And Star Wars: The Old Republic came out December 20th, 2011. So they shut down the servers because that game came out. It was a straight
trade. It was a straight trade.
Yeah. And now people still play that game in private servers. So a Star Wars MMO can work, and it has worked. I mean, Star Wars: The Old Republic came out, and like I said, in 2011, and it's still going, you know, I mean, like, that's the thing. It's like a success of an MMO is based in relativity. Like,
no, you're right.
What do you consider?
You're right.
Like,
I mean, I'm with you, dude.
successful?
I never got into MMOs, and it goes back to what I just said. I don't like fucking real people in real life. I don't want them in my video games. Because for the most part, I think there's a lot more Leroy Jenkins out there than people I'd want to play with. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is, like, if you were to play an MMO, and this is kind of like I finally, like, after I started, like, I finally found a guild where I'm gonna start raiding with people, like doing in-game content.
Yeah, so you found good people that are gonna enhance your experience in the game.
Your experience, seemingly. So there you go. It's like, it's hard, like, unless you start, it's better to start playing with friends. So it can be difficult to find a good group to play with. But here's something interesting about Star Wars: The Old Republic. In an earnings call in October 2019, EA announced that SWTS, Star Wars: The Old Republic, was closing in on $1 billion in lifetime revenue.
Jesus.
Making it a huge financial success based off of the reported $200 million development budget.
Right, because at this point, as Nick said, up front, yeah, they had to dump in almost $250 million. But outside of that, I bet they've probably kept a small team of developers to work on future expansions. They probably kept a little bit of a support team just to keep the infrastructure running, the servers, the network, all that shit. But that's it. Like, I bet this game at this point does not cost a lot to run.
Yeah, I mean, they've been running the game off of what's considered a skeleton crew for an MMO, which is still probably 20 to 40 people actively developing for about 4 years now, 3 to 4 years. But they still, like, they've come out with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 expansions for the game. You still, like, the game just launched on Steam, so now you have an influx of new players coming to it. I mean, but that's the thing is, like, MMOs cost so much money to develop up front because you essentially have to develop the game to have your release content, and you should have at least 3 years of content planned immediately.
Well,
once
yeah, there's
the game
that,
releases.
but fuck, I mean, the world itself has to be a living world, even more so than other video games where they put in quotes a living world. Like, they have to account for idiots like Nick and everyone else playing to not fucking break the world, because that's what people are trying to do. When you get into a game in an MMO like this, there's people out there trying to find the exploits and ways to hack the map. I mean, it's fun what some people find, but as a developer, you're sitting there, you're essentially, as Nick has explained, this skeleton crew, think of them, they're digital gods at this point, where they oversee this little digital world and have to make sure Nick and his buddies don't fucking burn it down.
And the thing is like, with this game in particular, it was completely different than any other MMO because it was fully voice acted. It was fully so like, you had, like, it told a full individualized story for every class that you played. So, like, fully voice acted individual story, a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of talent went into making this, not just in terms of coding, but in terms of, like, actors. Yeah. Which usually you don't have to worry about.
This is one, like, the more you talk about it, it's one I wish would have made it to consoles, because I'm never going to fucking touch it on a PC. Yeah. And it's MMO. I don't want to get involved with other Nimrods, but it does sound like a fun game. And I'm not saying I wouldn't want an MMO Star Wars coming up, because I think we've at least met enough like-minded Star Wars dopes through the show that we could actually probably have a decent, fun guild. But my preference is always, I want a game that I know I can enjoy by myself. I don't need other people, or I don't have to have the fear of other people trying to fuck up my enjoyment.
Yeah, I mean, I think right now the success of any MMO is based off of like, can you get it onto a console? Which is why Final Fantasy 14 has been relatively successful, because it is a cross-platform MMO that has literally, it died. Final Fantasy 14 came out and it tanked because it was terrible, and then they re-released it and it became very popular.
Well, we know what Nick wants the game to be. He's definitely going for an MMO. But how about our next one here, Vane 21? I'll read this, and then I really do have to take a leak at this time. I'm not kidding. Like, no more teases on the pee break. It's got to happen. I'm starting to shimmy and shake. A little too early. The show's not over yet. But anyways, Vane 21. Red Dead Redemption 2 type of open world with that much interaction, but have it like 5 planets to where you could travel via cutscene, ideally with all the worlds having a Red Dead size map of their own. So we've seen a few of these RDR, GTA types. I'll go ahead and let you speak on it while I relieve myself.
I think that this is probably the way that we all want the Ubisoft game to go. Like when Matt and I were talking about it on the article, that's what I said. Like, if you made it to where it was more planet-based and you're hopping around to different planets, that would be cool. It's similar to what we saw in Jedi Fallen Order, except the difference was you didn't really have the expansive map size that Vane is talking about for each planet. It was typically a smaller area per planet. But if you were to do that where you're essentially planet hopping and then each planet was huge, then that would be a really cool way to handle it. It's just hard. It's hard to do that because that is a very expansive, like Red Dead. You're essentially talking about making 5 Red Dead Redemption games in one.
Yeah, here's the deal, because I do like this, but hear me out. Think of it. You know how Ghost was portioned out
into 3 separate,
right? And it made sense. I mean, it made sense. We're talking like, I don't know what century that was, but clearly well before gas-powered vehicles or starships or any of that fun stuff. So the game was essentially positioned on this island, and throughout the 3 acts, you could go back and forth between the entire island, especially when you made it to the 3rd act. But the main bulk of that act's story took place on a new part of the island. So think same thing, but in Star Wars, instead of going to a different part of the island, you strap your ass in your ship and fly off to another planet that is also going to have a pretty expansive map, because let's be real. I mean, I didn't break out my ruler and look at a key to do the conversion, but I would assume if you started at the top of Ghost Island and rode your horse all the way to the bottom, it would take a decent amount of time. Yeah, so each section of the island was still big in its own right, but it was a part of an overall game. So, kind of think of that way, but parse it out on planets for Star Wars. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, similar to how we got Jedi Fallen Order given to us, but he just wants bigger maps for it.
And hopefully not shitty as an in-game map, or just maps in general that Jedi Fallen Order presented.
Dude, I like even how bad that map is in Fallen Order. The map, when I look at the map in Cyberpunk 2077, I want to stab my eyes out.
I mean, visually, it is, it's cyber, right? It's like you're on some sort of drug, but I can read that map, Nick. Like, I can actually figure out where I need to go. You pull up Jedi Fallen Order, it's one of those 3D deals on a 2D plane. You gotta like rotate the X, Y, and Z axis. It's like, go fuck yourself. Yeah. Like, I need to get to that room that's down there. It should be right below me, but what the fuck am I looking at? I mean, that's what I felt like anytime I popped that map up. And that's why in that game, I didn't really feel like exploring. I was like, fuck it. If I wander into a secret area, great. Otherwise, I want to get out of these shitty design maps and move on to the next one.
It was a little difficult to read for sure.
All right, we got J Moore 3000, I think, was in the chat. Still in the chat.
There we go. He had responded to our question last week as well. He says, the Elder Scrolls Morrowind, the 2002 release, not whatever they have for their MMO, but on a much larger scale and set in the New Republic era. I don't know, something about mopping up remnant forces is very satisfying. Morrowind was fantastic because every aspect of your kit was modifiable. Quests were very vague, so you actually had to work to complete them. Not no compass markers to follow, just something that doesn't insult my intelligence.
Okay, so Jay Moore's a real gamer. I like having my intelligence insulted as a gamer. Literally my favorite games are the ones where if I put a map marker down, I can see it in the world and follow a line on the floor to get there. I don't like getting lost. It gets me fucking frustrated. I just want to move on to the next objective. I do appreciate those that are more into the no HUDs or bust type of mentality where it is very
super immersive.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I get that, but no. I mean, come on, you people know me. If I can play on easy and still get the full game, I'm going to get at this point in time. I don't want to get pissed when I game anymore. My goal in life is not to bite my fingers anymore gaming, or smash controllers while gaming, or bite the fat of my forearm while gaming. This is all shit I used to do well into my 30s. I don't need to do it anymore. It doesn't make it fun. I have a lot more fun feeling like I may not be challenged enough in a video game versus having a game frustrate me to the point where I start to see stars and want to kill.
Yeah, I mean, and the good thing about games now is that a lot of these games that are, like Toulouse 2 or like Skyrim and stuff like that, give you the option.
Right. Yeah,
like if you want to
craft
play
your experience.
Yeah, like you can choose, like, I don't want a HUD. I want to walk around, and when I pick up a mission, then I want to find where it is. I don't want to be led to where it is.
I mean, honestly, one of my favorite parts of Ghost, Nick, and it had a very clean HUD. I mean, it was clean by default. But the fact that I could swipe up on that controller and get a general idea of the direction I should head based on the wind blowing, that was fucking perfect.
I really did,
right? Because it doesn't really fuck up the game world to where you have like a neon line to follow. It's a little goofy, but it at least leaves the world in a somewhat natural state, but allows you, as someone that may not like just arbitrarily walking through a world and not knowing if you're actually completing progress or making progress. I did like getting that kind of that cue, like, yeah, idiot, you're going sort of the right way. Keep going that direction.
Generally the correct direction. So, I mean, I think that something like this is possible. And now that we see that Lucasfilm Games is actively working with Bethesda, it wouldn't surprise me if we did get a Star Wars game that was developed by Bethesda. I just don't know if they would develop it only that way. They would give you the option to play that way, where no HUD, you have to make your way through the world.
Yeah, I'm all for that,
but then
also add dummy mode for people like me, or like it's not even like you're dumb. It just I just want to chill. I have limited time to game. I'm sure I'll get more the older my daughter gets and the more she hates me. But right now, I'd say on average throughout a week, I'm lucky to get 5 to 6 hours of gaming total. Yeah. So in that 5 to 6 hours, I prefer to know that I am actually making progress that's going to get me to the end of a game so I can start a new game, versus the kind of the more artistic, organic experience of just living in a game's world and wandering around and maybe kind of creating my own quest flow. I'm not saying you people are dumb. It's just the way I game now, the way I need to get through games. That's also a reason I might throw them on easy. It's just getting through stuff to get on to the next one, because when you develop a backlog that I have now in gaming, it kind of makes you feel like an ass. Where you've missed some gems over the last 10 years because of, procrastination, spending too much time in a game, writing about games, doing reviews, all that fun stuff. I'd be down with Elder Scrolls Star Wars any day. I mean, I never got into Morrowind, but Skyrim is still one of the most time-sunk affairs I've ever had in gaming.
Yeah, I played Skyrim on
ridiculous
consoles.
amounts of hours. And this is when I was still in corporate America, so I had a lot more game time because that's all I did, because I hated my life. I'd just go to work, game, go to work, hate, repeat type of shit. But Jay Moore, before we move on, he threw in another one, a genre that a lot of us have not talked about yet, and it's one that I would be down for because Jay Moore threw out XCOM 2, which is an RTS type of Star Wars game. I'd be down for that, and I'm excited to get the Gears Tactics, which is part of Games Pass that is essentially XCOM, but in the Gears universe. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah. RTS, like, that's the thing with this license now is that you're opening up to so many different studios. Like EA was a pretty heavily like first person shooter RPG studio. That's what they did. But now you're opening up to a lot of different developers, a lot of different smaller studios, and you could get, RTS
well,
games.
even that, like, I mean, because
puzzle games.
XCOM, it's it's one of those time-based strategy RTSs, but you're not really base building like some people may think when you hear RTS. But even that, I mean, I would take, and they did it. I mean, some of us older people, do you guys remember Galactic Battlegrounds for PC? It was essentially damn it, Blizzard's big one, Nick, StarCraft. There you go. It was essentially a StarCraft clone, but Star Wars. And it had, I mean, you could roll out. I remember I would build up like 50 droidicas, and that would be my attack force. It was fucking awesome. So I would love to see a return to that genre as well with the Star Wars license.
I know that they did some like space RTSs as well with Empire at War.
Empire at War, another one. I mean, I really used to like that for Star Wars. So yeah, I'd be down for that, but also the XCOM style of time-based strategy. So good stuff there, Jay Moore. Way to get us talking.
Next up, Rebel Jawa says, open world but set in the Old Republic. It's a period which really needs and deserves to be explored in current canon. I love Jedi Fallen Order and would be more than happy to play another Force-sensitive character, but I would love the opportunity to play as a bounty hunter. I mean, Old Republic now is very weird. It's very weird because you have an active game that's being developed in that era, and I know that technically it's not canon, but then you start to mess around with like it's hard to do it now. I'll say that
what they've been doing with the Old Republic, like you said, Nick, is odd. It's like they'll dangle it to get some money from it, but they won't commit to it being real, right? Like Swago, I mean, they've rolled out, it's as Old Republic as it gets. I mean, outside of the first KOTOR, that's essentially what it is. They wheeled out every character from that and the sequel. We get the toys, we get the figures, but like Nick's saying, they haven't really officially canonized these people yet.
Yeah, like if Lucasfilm Games goes in and says, KOTOR 1 is canon, KOTOR 2 is canon, Star Wars The Old Republic is canon, it opens it. You now have the ability to build stories off of those stories. But currently, if you go in and try to make a Star Wars game based in the Old Republic timeline, do you respect KOTOR? Do you respect KOTOR 2 or not? Like it's a hard period to develop in, because the content that is there that's not canon is so beloved that if you went in and you overwrote it or you made a game that didn't respect it, then people are going to hate you. But then if you go in and you make a game or you pitch a game to Lucasfilm Games and you say, I want to make a spin-off of KOTOR, or like I want to make a game that functions in the KOTOR space where you're playing in the Mandalorian Wars, for example.
There you go.
Like you know.
Right.
But then Lucasfilm Games says like, well, if you do that, then we then have to go and canonize everything that's in KOTOR and KOTOR 2. We don't know if we want to do that. So like that time period's caught in limbo. And I agree that I want Old Republic content like crazy. I want it so hard. And like, granted, I am getting it. I'm playing it. But I want it to be canonized. And I want everything that I'm playing to have more meaning, because it is now officially blessed by the Disney gods.
They've kind of tipped their hand though, Nick, with the High Republic. I think that was their way of saying, yeah, there are these older eras of Star Wars where things are more knightly, if you will, if that's even a word. It's not Keira Knightley.
Yeah.
But our old era is the High Republic. Fuck you guys.
Yeah,
I have a feeling that's where it's going, dude. I really do.
I don't know. I mean, and here's the thing: is like Old Republic was a specifically game-driven time period.
Of course.
So I don't know. I mean, maybe Disney will allow them, now that Lucasfilm Games is its own thing, to say like, hey, if you guys want to make this part of your game universe, then go ahead. Like we will allow you to say that it is now canon.
Yeah, I'm like you. They need to canonize it, and they need to respect it. Create those loose bridges to KOTOR 1 and 2.
Yeah, or if you're gonna decanonize it, like decanonize it and then stop development on the Star Wars
and quit making fucking
MMO.
Darth Revan action figures and all that shit.
Yeah,
just like kill it once and for all. Don't tease us.
Yeah, because it's in a weird limbo. All right, so next up, Scotticus Custom says something akin to an RPG where you can select the character, be it bounty hunter, force user, etc., as long as it doesn't turn out to be like Battlefront remakes or COD. So RPGs, yeah, I mean RPGs are, that's something. I mean, it's hard to come by a traditional RPG anymore in gaming. A lot of people just don't make them. A lot of times you get hybrid RPGs, which I feel like that's what like Cyberpunk is like a hybrid RPG. But I agree. Like if you built like a Final Fantasy style,
the general
style RPG,
the general themes we've been getting here is open world, which we know. Yeah. Some sort of role playing involved, bounty hunter force. I mean, those seem to be the sticking points for everybody. Bounty hunters are in there in every one. I mean, I am probably the only Star Wars fan that does not have a huge hard-on for bounty hunters.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like all of these people would really like the Star Wars The Old Republic game if it wasn't an MMO. Right, yeah. Like if they just... Because you can be an Imperial agent, you can be a bounty hunter.
It's pretty much scratching their itches, right? I mean, it's already doing it.
But the problem with it is like, and the thing is, you could play that game single player for 50 levels. Like you can get, you play the first 50 levels of that game as an individualized story for your character. But the problem is it's MMO combat, and most people don't like that. Like you have like a skill bar at the bottom of your screen that has all your skills on it. It's not like It's not immersive combat like you have if you're playing like Ghost of Tsushima, where it's like your actions are based off of button clicks and like you hit square to slash and stuff like that. But that game is encapsulating a lot of what people are asking for.
Yeah, I know Scotticus is a big customizer out there, like makes a lot of cloaks and stuff for some of the toy photographers. So good to see him showing up here. But yeah, I'll tell you what, if they could make a Star Wars shooter like a COD, I would not be sad if that came out every year. I really wouldn't. I'm not even sad that we get COD, because I honestly, and I haven't played the new one yet, but I still think COD campaigns are some of the most stupid fun in the FPS genre around.
I told myself that when EA first got the license, and I was like, I would love a Battlefield skin Battlefront. And then I got it and I was like, I don't love this, and I wish I didn't ask for it.
Now I'm talking more like straight up Call of Duty first person shooter. You're either a trooper, like just a rebel slug, but all first person delivered, big time set pieces, crazy espionage and shit like that going on. But Star Wars, because they are. I mean, a COD campaign to me, it's like blockbuster movie fun, just silly, ridiculous nonsense. Yeah, I mean, I would try it for sure. I would definitely try it, but I haven't touched a COD game in years. I've kept the only one I haven't played was the one that came out. It was full on multiplayer. I mean, outside of playing it at E3 for press type of stuff, that's it. But if they have a campaign, I play COD. So I still hope to play this most recent version, because I think they broke out Ronald Reagan for this plot. Yeah, I don't even know what it is. It's crazy, dude. It's crazy shit, like Cold War craziness.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Phoenix Toy Photography, also known as, or used to be known as SWTS, I believe. Wild Wing.
Holy shit.
Yeah, Nick,
So
I
that's
have to explain these conversions to Nick. Because he's not as in the know with people kind of rebirthing themselves on social media.
Yeah, I know. Apparently, you guys are just name changing left and right.
Yeah, I mean, Action Figure Noob did it. What was that? Captain Ordo did it.
Captain Ordo did
and now
it.
SWTS. But yeah, he's back. He's a phoenix rising from the ashes of toy photography. He's going for some kind of Red Dead Redemption would be very cool. Instead of a cowboy, you play a bounty hunter or smuggler with changeable outfits, races, and so on. Some planets to explore, and you can also fly through space with your spaceship.
Yeah, it's very similar responses.
Yeah, I mean,
a lot of people wanting the same open world, interactive, not even just open world, interactive world, and they want to be able to interact with their environment and everything like that. So yeah, similar.
Up next from the dude right here, Sir Dork 730.
He says, I don't care what time period, just let me travel to whatever planet I want, change into cool outfits, choose my race, find and modify weapons, make big decisions, all the good stuff. And then a response here from Germ Boy says, boy, yeah, with 4 eyes. Says, I like that idea. I want to be able to pick from a selection of Star Wars ships and hyperspace to planets in the Star Wars galaxy and maybe customize your own character or pick from all of the most popular characters. Maybe wherever you travel to, there could be option to battle.
Yeah, we sure know what we want. There's no doubt about it.
This kind of feels like, again, this is kind of like a mix between Eve and No Man's Sky in a way.
Right, where you're almost managing the economy of the game, right? Where you're in control of a lot of stuff, as are other players, and shit can go sideways.
Because No Man's Sky is very open. Like, I haven't played No Man's Sky since it released, and I was one of those players who bought it, was super excited, got it, and was like, too. I can't fucking do anything in this
dumb.
game.
Like, it was just like, what do you do?
Apparently it has become incredible since then, and I need to play it again. But No Man's Sky was the one where it's like, okay, once you get your ship, if you can look in the sky, you see that dot, you can fly to that dot.
Exactly.
And you get to that dot and you see a space station, you can go to that space station, you can dock. And
I'm with, on paper, Nick, these games always sound like the greatest thing ever, but in reality, it's just they're too big for their own good.
And that's the problem, is they're impossible to develop.
Exactly.
Like Jared, what you're essentially describing is, I don't know if you've ever heard of this game. I think I may have mentioned it before. It's Star Citizen, except with Star Wars. So Star Citizen was a very ambitious game that started development in 2010 under Chris Roberts. He was a former developer from a big studio, and that was his mission, was to make this game where you could essentially anywhere you saw you could go. It was like a real world economy. Like, they would have, you have flight modules, you could land on the ground, you could have ground combat modules, you had ship modules where you were, everything that you did on your ship was a completely living environment.
That's just too much, man. It's too much.
The problem with that, yeah, exactly, is that it's too much for a player and it's too much for a developer. Yeah. And usually what happens is, I mean, kind of like what we're seeing with CDPR in 2077, is that they had such big ambitions that everything came out kind of mediocre.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point, because I read, and I was actually at the 2018 E3 where they showed off the now infamous demo, which apparently was all fake. I've read that now, but if you were at E3 and you got to see the closed door demo of Cyberpunk, it was fake. You're supposed to be able to wall run in that game. You're supposed to have dynamic carjackings in that game. You're supposed to have the most naturally functioning digital citizens ever, meaning the world would be alive unlike you had ever experienced in a video game world. But clearly that's not the case. I know one person put out a video like countering the claim that it would be the most alive and natural game world ever created because I think it was like a huge traffic jam. He, as the player, pulls out a grenade, and everyone at the same exact moment gets out of their car and basically shelters in place. Like, oh no, oh no, oh no. The point being, like, no, this is not a naturally occurring world. It's as scripted as it gets. I mean, he had like fucking 50 non-playable characters essentially doing the exact same action. Yeah, and it's good to have those ambitions as both a just player. Just don't trust it as a player, because I don't. Nick, has there been any of these games where the developers and the publishers just promoted the shit out of it, promised us the moon? Are there games that actually delivered of that nature? I don't think so. It was hard. I don't think so.
And I think the big thing is that bit CDPR is that, like, they kind of did it with The Witcher, like. But The Witcher, they weren't promising you all of these things that you had never seen before in games.
Exactly.
They told you what you were going to get, and they gave you exactly that, and it was really good. And people had begun to think that, like, oh, well, when CDPR says they can do something, they're going to do it because we saw
anything they touch is golden.
But that's just that, and that's the problem is, like, when you have something like that, you end up sacrificing everywhere and everything becomes mediocre. So, like, I want to make big decisions that have big real world, real game impact. Well, that was Mass Effect, but you didn't have the ability to choose your own ship. You didn't have the outfit customizations. You could modify weapons to a degree. You could, you had racial options to a degree, but, like, there's just not. There's no game that you can do that.
No, it's not there yet. I mean, it's getting there. AI coding, people writing code, they're getting better, but it's not there yet.
The closest thing, like I said, like, you're getting there because of procedural generation, and that's what No Man's Sky was. No Man's Sky was a exploration and what procedural generation could do for an infinite universe.
It essentially has an AI director that will render out fully realized worlds dynamically,
almost instantaneously. Like, as soon as you see it, it renders what that planet is.
When you brought up Mass Effect, and we even got some people in the chat throwing Mass. I mean, that would be a fantastic. Skin that as a Star Wars game. Don't change anything. Just make it Star Wars. Perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I
all right, let's keep going here. We got a few more to go. We're essentially just saying the same shit over and over at this point.
Yeah, I would say we're not going to go unless there's a brand new idea.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and speed through some of these, but I do want to give the fans their due. So Mythos Boba, he got 2 replies of his, but he's looking for Mandalorian in-game form, traveling around, picking up bounties, going on adventures. Heinrich VC seconded it, and then Hops and Heroes thirded it. So there we go. Yeah, we've definitely heard that one before. Hops and Heroes got his own. Look at this. Doubling up. Force Unleashed, but open world. And our buddy, real-ass painter extraordinaire Sean Forney Art also chimed in with the same idea. Something like Force Unleashed, but set in Nick's favorite era, the Old Republic.
Agree. Yeah. Here we go.
Here's Chewbacca's left nut. Look at this. I'd love for it to be like a Boba Fett base game, basically him making his way in the galaxy. Personally, I think that would be a great concept. And then he adds himself to point out that I hope Matt doesn't rant about this.
I think it would be a good one.
I would be all for it. I am on the record at this point in time. I'm never going to change. There are 2 versions of Boba Fett, whether you want to believe it or not. There is Bozo Fett, and that is the man that appears in Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. And there is Neo Boba, who appears in the 2nd season of The Mandalorian and really lets his dick swing in Episode 6. So there you go.
Yeah. Agree. I think that would be good. It would basically be like the video game version
of the Book of Boba. 100%.
Yeah.
I would be all for that.
Kingdom of Weird says GTA 5 on Coruscant. Playable character can't leave because he gets hyperspace sickness and dies.
There you go. I like it.
So just GTA 5 in Coruscant.
I could get that. I really could get down with a GTA just nonsense game in Star Wars.
And like almost like 1313, like take the concept of 1313 with Coruscant Underworld, except just GTA. I like it. Caleb Hayward White says some kind of survivor of the Siege of Mandalore. I
like that. Just because it's something different. It'd be like a new character. It'd be in a time period, something that has not been exposed to us yet. I mean, we're hoping to get more of the Siege of Mandalore. And we're not. I don't know if he's talking. Do you think he's talking Clone Wars Siege or the Empire Siege?
I would assume that he would.
Oh, and literally lead clones about. So he is talking.
Yeah.
All right,
that's
bad.
The actual.
Either way, I think it'd be a great setting. At first, I was thinking the Siege of Mandalore that we've been hearing from Gideon, and the fallout of that, and why do all the Mandos disperse? Why are there factions created? Why are there the Kool-Aid drinkers? But yeah, I like the idea of Mandalore. And then our last one here, our buddy and soon-to-be official team member, if I ever get off my lazy ass and do something on the web server, and that is Baron's Black Series. A lot has been done, but imagine being a clone in the Grand Army of the Republic. The prologue is you floating in a growth chamber, then flash learning, and then it's your time to ship out. You have a hub on Camino, and you have to load ships and go out on missions. You could grow up to become an ARC trooper or a commando, or just a grunt. It kind of just depends on where you land. It could use some tweaking, but we've all been a Jedi or a smuggler before. A lot has been done. Granted, no in an open world format. My only other suggestion is that you're a foundling and adopted by the Mandos. So look at this guy actually went out and provided a treatment.
Yeah, no, I like it. I like that. Like playing, it expands more upon what was done in the Clone Wars, where like you become
you get
a big fan
the
of
clone
the
perspective, right? I mean, I think the only thing we've had in that nature would have been Republic Commandos, but that was just kind of a straightforward shooter, not a ton of RPG, get in their minds aspects. So I like it. Spencer, not bad. Like all right, Tones, we'll see you by. I was wondering how you were still up and at him. I know it was getting late over there in the UK, and he's got to work. But let's go ahead and kind of round out this episode. We're going to move on to the next part of our fan segment, and that is everyone's favorite, the now iconic, some say infamous, Top 5 Star Wars Fan Artist Features of the Week.
Woo-hoo. All right, this week we kick off with two real ass painters, and then we move into some toy picks. But these are all really fucking fantastic pictures. It was actually hard to pick 5 from this week, but I mean, I think the ones that I picked up were killer, and the ones that Matt shared and the stuff that you guys have created were all just fucking fantastic. So first up this week, I believe, is a first time feature. I think we have a couple of these this week from Rezarin Arts. Rezarin _Arts.
This is one of those first type of weeks for Rezarin. Got the first feature on the account, and then the first top 5.
Yeah, so what we see here is a real ass painting version of Darth Maul during the Siege of Mandalore.
Real quick, Nick, I don't know if this is full on all real ass paint or digital manipulation.
Digital manipulation of like a toy shot.
He looks very much like the Hot Toys Solo Maul I have sitting next to me. Rezarin, if you're listening, if you check it out later, please follow up with us either through our Instagram account, or if you're in the chat, leave a comment on the YouTube video. What type of art are we looking at? Are you manipulating other digital assets? Is this a picture of a toy that you then digitize? Or as Nick said, are we talking about full on real ass paint?
It says, so one of his hashtags he used is Photoshop manipulation. So I don't know if potentially he did like take a toy shot and then manipulate it. But what we see is still incredible regardless of how he made it. So what we see is it's not during the Siege of Mandalore because he's using the Darksaber. But what we see is Darth Maul full on double saber ignited behind him. Darksaber ignited in front of him, and he's on the battlefield with the Mandalorians. You can see.
Yeah, you could argue that's Gar Saxon there in the background.
Yeah, Gar Saxon in the background. And he's in some sort of battleground, and it doesn't look like he's on.
Well, no, Nick, I'm actually on Rezarin's account, and the caption is this: "What do you think the galaxy would be like if Maul ruled it?" So I'm assuming this shot is what if Maul actually got his way during the siege of Mandalore and convinced Ahsoka that Sidious and Anakin are bad?
Yeah, I mean, that could definitely be.
And it looks like if he did, he would have gone around and conquered worlds, just like Maul would.
Kind of like what you would expect from Darth Maul. But, I mean, it's a fantastic representation. And like you said, the visage and the body of Maul itself looks so good that maybe he did kind of take that Hot Toys Maul and just digitize it.
You just don't know, Nick, because, I mean, just last week we were talking about Tegan Lee draws. And we know all that's, but you looked at her portrait of Kenobi and you'd be like, what, is that a photo?
Yeah, I just thought it was a picture of you.
Nope. This young lady crafted it out of her fingers on an iPad.
Yeah, so
either way, Rezarin Arts, welcome to the Star Wars Time Show Club. Hopefully you check it out and want to stick around and be a fan. Those that may be new listening to this segment, the way to get mixed up into the top 5 and potentially get featured on an episode of the Star Wars Time Show is to follow at Star Wars Time Show on Instagram, tag us in all of your Star Wars posts, and also use hashtag Star Wars Time Show.
That is correct. So beautiful job at Rezarin, REZEREN _arts on Instagram. Next up is our good friend and YouTube chat moderator, Super Scoundrel at Super _Scoundrel, with the incredible Heavy Mando, aka Paz Vizsla representation using his signature vector art style.
He gives him, Nick, and I don't know what you think when you look at this, and I don't know if it's the way Devin decided to light it and color it in, but he essentially, explaining it to those of you that are just listening, think of Paz Vizsla, so the heavy Mandalorian, but Super Scoundrel gave him Boba Fett's paint scheme. Yeah,
exactly. And his original caption is, Paz isn't dead. He's just working for Boba now.
Oh, so so there we go. So it is on purpose.
Paz, yeah. So basically, once Boba sits down on the throne and either starts the takes control of the Hutt cartel or whatever he's doing, he calls up Paz and he's like, hey, I'm looking for an enforcer, but you gotta whip my paint style.
Yeah,
and
you gotta rep the colors, bro.
Yeah. So you see, full on Heavy Mando in the Boba Fett.
It works. I mean, it does. Just imagine Boba Fett on
steroids.
steroids. Same thing. I mean, it definitely works. I like it. And you have to think, Paz is a Vizsla, so he is probably off his rocker in terms of his Mandalorian culture. I mean, he's could be a direct descendant of the Kool-Aid drinkers, if not one of the creators of the Kool-Aid.
It's very possible.
Him and Armorer are out there. Doing God knows what. They're like Pat Robertson on the 700 Club.
Yeah, he could definitely be one of those types of psychopaths. So, but yeah, I mean, this is just typical.
Yeah, it's at Super _Scoundrel Excellence. I've said it a million times. He's someone that I literally have to slap my finger and be like, nope. Devin's had his 2 or 3 shares this week. It's time to let other people play.
Yeah. But yeah, just beautiful work. So make sure to give him a follow if you have not already. Next up is Figure Fucking Hurts, who I believe was in chat before. I don't know if he still is, but at Figure Hurts on Instagram with this super awesome Hoth Wampa shot where we see the Wampa on Hoth before getting his arm cut off by Luke Skywalker, just sitting here mauling snow troopers.
Well, yeah, I mean, we'll just say this is probably a different Wampa because, Nick, these are first order troopers, so this is probably
probably
down the road, but really, it's just an amazing setup that Figure Hurts went with here. I think his name's Daz. But I mean, look at that, dude. That I believe that ice cave dio is all practical. Like the dude's sculpted it out of putty or styrofoam. You can always count on Figure fucking Hertz for doing something gory as hell, like either having dongs hanging out, shit logs, vomit. In this case, it's a destroyed corpse. Probably
like a literal bloody dead skeleton.
Oh, it is. It's just the scenes this guy crafts. I mean, it's a great picture, but the work that goes into the scene setup and a lot of Figure Hertz's creations, they're impressive. And this is definitely one of them. And apparently, I think this is an old shot that he just forgot exists and threw it up there. And of course, we grabbed it. It's an eye catcher.
Yeah, man, it's super eye catching. You're right. I was just looking at the guy up top, and I was like, oh, it's a snowtrooper. But then when I look down at the bottom, it does.
It's
have
even
even
the pose on the dude getting lifted up is perfect because
it's like his legs are like split.
Yeah, he's like his gun's falling at the same time. He's getting oh, there he is. He still is in the chat. So the dio is made from paper mache, and the LEDs on the guns are real. So those lights you see on the guns, if you're watching the stream, or if you just look at StarWarsTime.net for our top 5, that's practical and that's impressive.
That is,
I would say Figure Hertz is one of the more practical type of toy photographers in terms of most of his shots consist of nothing but either practical effects or practical sets.
Yeah, that's incredible that he handmade this dio.
It's people
himself.
like him that discourage me from doing this hobby, which by the way, people, I finally did it. Last week I had a shoot.
There we go.
It was basic as fuck, boring portraits of some of my Hot Toys. I just wanted to get into the glass case, but I did it. But the point is, I look at stuff like this and I go, damn, man, look what these people think of. And then they build the dioramas, which just, they enhance the shot by a factor of 1,000. It's like, I'm never going to be this good. Why even do it? Why even do it?
It is really hard to imagine the amount of effort that goes into something like that. I can
tell you. I mean, I don't build dios, but I know what it takes to even stage a shitty shot with random dio pieces. It is a ton of effort. A ton.
Yeah. I can't.
I mean, some of these people, Nick, I bet they may spend days on a shot. They think about it. They build the set, they get it ready, they let it curate, they let all the shit dry, then they got to set up the shoot, take the shot, edit the shot. Me, it's, I got some time, okay, here we go, I'll flip on a light and plop a figure down there and snap, snap, snap. Oh, it looks stupid, but I'll keep going, snap, snap, snap. I think I'm giving myself cancer by using atmosphere aerosol indoors, but I'll keep going, snap, 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 snap. Oh, my fog machine's making my kidneys hurt, but I'll keep going. I mean, that's basically
and then
my
Matt
hobby
passes
now.
Out, and then he wakes up.
You can ask my wife, after any photo shoot that I do in the house in my basement, I always come up saying, I'm pretty sure I just gave myself lung cancer. And last week was no different because I woke up the day after I had my shoot and I had a consistent resting heart rate of 98 BPM. Wow. That's not good.
Yeah, that's a little high. Yeah, it's a little high.
So I think I huffed one too many snorts of fog mixture and a few splashes of atmosphere aerosol. But either way, at Figure fucking Hertz. Doesn't need all that bullshit because he crafts the stuff in the reel and shoots it as it sits.
Beautiful job. At Figure Hertz on Instagram. Give him a follow. Next up is another first time feature here. This is from at Russ_Berry, Berrie, with the scene recreation from Hoth. This is from ESB, where you get a bunch of, I guess it's not really a scene recreation.
I mean, it's sort of, you did get Vader kind of walking down the icy hallways, but it's not, you're right, it's not a shot-for-shot recreation.
Yeah, it's not a shot-for-shot one, but it's pretty close. This is what happened.
Exactly. It's Vader breaching the Hoth base and coming through looking for Leia, Han, and the rest of them. Yeah,
and really reminiscent of the Tantive 4 scene, right from the beginning of A New Hope, where he busts in and he's got the troopers and he's got the rebellion troopers shooting at him, but except it's done with the Hoth rebel troopers, and then you get stormtroopers coming through. Just really well lit. The post-processing effects with the bokeh in there, and then the laser shots coming in look really good. Staging is really good
to me, Nick,
too.
honestly, the thing that caught my eye is it has a lifelike quality to it. I don't know if you want to call it a cinematic feel, but it feels like a still from a Star Wars movie.
It does. Yeah, it really does. And it does sell that kind of cinematic
it's a very nice
feel
dio. I mean, it's a picture perfect Hoth quarter dio. You got like the little lighting up there, and I'm assuming those are real lights coming down. If not, that's also good work with some VFX to kind of give that light kind of its light cone, light funnel, whatever you want, the beam coming out. No, it really feels like a movie still.
Yeah. Straight from the movie itself. So excellent job at Russ_Berry, Berrie on Instagram. Give him a follow. And then finally, for our last of the top 5, we have at Black Series BLK SRS here with the Mandalorian shot. And I mean, Black Series Zay is already, he's a master.
He's a pimp.
But this one here, the atmosphere that he used, like that red smoke in the background, it's just everything about this shot is so perfectly executed for like a blasting off Mandalorian getting ready to go into battle.
You've got to go, people. You got to go check out at BLK SRS this shot in particular, because he always does behind the scenes. But you'll see. I mean, Black Series. Now don't get me wrong. Don't take this the wrong way. But Black Series excels at simple setups that look like magic. This is literally in his backyard against like a shed, and he's using red powder with a long tube that is hooked up to one of these drain guns a lot of toy photographers use for the dirt explosion, the particle effects. And he just kicks that off, and it sprays up that red mist. And he's got his camera set to a high shutter speed. It's probably doing multiple snaps per click. And I'm sure he goes through a litany of shots, finds the best one, adds a little Photoshop polish to it, and here we go.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he literally did that with he just boom, and then that powder goes up, and he pulls out like literally this perfect shot, and just some simple Photoshop at the end of it, adding some bokeh in the background, adding in the lens flare with the light coming off of the jetpack. Yeah,
that's it. Everything else I'd say is it was shot as is. I mean, it's just Zay has a very artistic eye for these damn things. I mean, he is not much of a scene creator like some of the other top dogs, but he always manages to make his subject shine. In some cases, with simple setups any of us could do in our own backyards, and I think that's why I appreciate, because I get hung up on like, I want to do intense dio work like a figure hurts, or I want to do more action scenes like a Sir Dork. And it's like I should just realize what I'm good at. It's a singular figure. Somehow try to make that figure shine, and somehow try to make it look like more than you just sat it there like a lazy ass and took a picture.
Yeah, I mean, and if you look at a lot of Zay's work, it is like, especially a lot of his recent figures, it's single figure.
What I mean. That's what I've been saying.
Single primary focus, but
they look like fucking works of art. I mean, look at the remake he did of the Moff Gideon season 1 Ender shot. You've got to be kidding me. That's all real. That fucking busted up TIE fighter is real.
Yeah. I don't know,
he did
man.
all that shit.
That's fucking magical.
The Boba Blast, that's another one. It's just,
I was going to say the Boba Blast.
That's a black backdrop. He's got that dust again in the drain gun, and it was just an excellent snap. I mean, it really is. But then you get stuff like this one where it's a full-on composite of like that rubber ducky tank going across the farm field. Yeah. I mean, then it's like art. I don't know, man. I mean, I always appreciate what Black Series does, but he is someone that excels at this hobby, And typically, if he's dropping a Star Wars shot and remembers to tag us, it's going up.
Yeah, man, beautiful, beautiful work. So at BLKSRS on Instagram, I'm sure most of you are following him. He's got almost 50,000 followers, but if you aren't, go give him a follow because he's well worth.
It's just if you're into the hobby, he's very gracious. I mean, he's someone that I know I've been able to DM and get advice from, but also in every one of his posts, he gives you a detailed breakdown of how it was achieved.
Yeah,
doesn't mean you're going to be able to make shots like Black Series. I've figured that out the hard way, but it helps to kind of get, just like our boy Sir Dork. I mean, I'm glad his YouTube channel has finally taken off. I think he just got 100,000 view tutorial, but and that's all Jared does is he's trying to show other people that get into toy photography how he creates the stuff that made him popular.
Yeah.
So people like that, they're great to follow if you want to try to learn, try new things. It just doesn't mean you're going to get that type of following.
Yeah. So just, if nothing else, follow him to learn a little bit, to enhance your
just
skills.
Temper your expectations though, because it really is. I mean, it's anything on social media, very rarely does something come through just years of hard work. A lot of times something just random happens and you get that viral attack. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to say these guys don't work hard. They work very hard, but at least in terms of, I mean, I guess the best way I can explain it, look at the Star Wars Time Show.
Lots of hard work. Lots of
fucking hard work, lots of fucking years, and we still have not had a viral moment. So what does that say about us? I've tried to say it means we suck and we should quit. A lot of you tell me I need to shut up and just, it'll come, but you kind of catch my drift. In this day and age, in these spaces we play in with the Instagrams, sharing toy pictures, or even doing silly podcasts like the SWTS, a lot of times, no matter the effort put forth by the creators, the content creators, a lot of times it may rely on some old blue hair on Facebook making shit go viral.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully that'll happen to us one day, but until that time, we will continue to plug along and give you guys the content.
We've missed our viral moments. I mean, outside of me sitting here with nipple tassels on for 4 hours and swinging them around as I talk about Star Wars, I don't know. I don't think we're going to have that. So we're just going to have to build it slowly but surely, as we've been doing for these past too many years, my friend. And as you kind of led on, we have made it. We have made it through 145. It went way longer than I thought, but that's because of the gaming stuff. We all had a good time speculating, dreaming, pining for this open world Ubisoft game that we know is happening, but we don't know what it's going to be like. So hopefully everyone had fun, but it's time to say goodbye. Like Mr. Rogers, I'm going to put my sweater away and strap on my shoes and leave the neighborhood. But as I leave, let's not forget to do the dance, right? Shimmy it and shake it, and then get your happy ass over to StarWarsTime.net. And why, you may ask? Well, because it gives us a cheap view, which could equal a half a penny in ad revenue. But in all seriousness, we want you over there because that's where our content lives, and it's where you can find our other platforms. Most importantly, if you're new here and you want to listen to the podcast on a specific podcast platform, you can go to StarWarsTime.net, hit subscribe to podcast, or just scroll down the page a little bit. Look at the sexy content. Look at the dudes, Dude 1 and Dude 2. But you'll also notice you can find our podcast platforms right there. So Apple, Google, Spotify, Android, Pandora. We got it. If we don't, get on one that we do, because there's no need to make any more. We're not going to dilute the brand any more than it already is. If you're someone that likes to look at people as you listen to them, we do the live streams every Tuesdays for the most part, in between 2 and 3. I think that's our window these days. We kicked off at the 3 o'clock hour with this show. Next week, you never know, it may be 2:37. But if you're subscribed to us on YouTube, you'll always get that notice when the bozos go live. So again, StarWarsTime.net, in the sidebar, Star Wars Time on YouTube, click on that subscribe button. If you're watching this shit show right now, go ahead and give us a like and a comment on the stream, and then pass it on to a friend. Right? There's a lot of humans out there right now that love passing stuff on to other humans. In America, it's COVID-19. In other countries, who knows? But what we want you to do is to start passing on the Star Wars Time show. Look at young Liam today. He tricked someone from TikTok to come in and even subscribe to the channel on YouTube. That is the type of fan service I'm looking for. That is what we need the diehards to do. But even more, outside the diehards, trick someone else. Trick your grandparents, like I've said. They probably don't even know what's happening right now. Just throw on the Star Wars Time show every Tuesday to give us another view. It's not going to bother them. As long as they get their 4 o'clock dinner, they'll be cool. Throw on some Star Wars Time. Because there's always time for Star Wars Time. There almost wasn't time for Star Wars Time for Nick today. But even he, through the Force, commanded the power company to get the lights back on because he knows, I know it, and more importantly, the diehards know it. There truly is always time for Star Wars Time. And besides, if you listen to the Star Wars Time show, the Force will be with you. Always.